Okay, and welcome to the 127th meeting of the 7th Council of Municipalities, South Dundas, on Monday, August the 8th. We have officially called this meeting to order and had our closed session at 5 o'clock. So we're going on to confirmation of agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, amendments at this time? Madam Clerk, first.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there are a few amendments to the agenda. Bylaw number 2022-91 is being removed as the employee is no longer coming to the municipality. And consent items A, B, C, and D have been moved to discussion, please.
Okay, all right. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments from a member of council at this time? Okay, seeing none, any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll have the adoption of minutes from the July 11th and July 11th regular meeting and July 21st special meeting.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the minutes of the 125th regular and in-camera meetings and the 126th special and in-camera meetings of council be adopted as circulated.
Any discussion on the minutes? No. All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Tonight we have a special presentation, so I will I'd like to invite Ben O'Shaughnessy and his family to the delegate table, please. Do you want to help with this? Sure. Bring this stuff. I can't multitask it.
Oh my God, it's so cute.
Welcome to the council table in the municipality of South Dundas. The O'Shaughnessy family have been invited this evening to provide council an opportunity to recognize the recent heroic efforts of 4-year-old Ben. At the tender age of 4, his presence of mind, quick thinking, and selfless determination and immense bravery saved the life of his mother. I assume it was you. On July the 4th, at approximately 11:30 a.m., Benjamin noticed that his mom was not answering him. His mother, who has had 3 brain surgeries, the most recent being on December 21st, 2021, suffered a seizure while at home alone with 1-year-old Macy and 4-year-old Ben. Ben had the presence of mind to run across the street and alert the neighbors, Charles and Eleanor Lawlord, who quickly attended and called 911. Charles also had another neighbor call her husband who was at work. The neighbors helped with the children until the family arrived. This is only the second seizure Ben's mother has had during her 6-year. What's?
I have a brain tumor.
Yeah,
Meningioma.
there. I was just butchering it, so sorry. Ben, on behalf of the council, staff, and community of South Dundas, I would like to commend you by presenting you with a certificate of bravery. You are wise beyond your years, and I hope you continue to lead by example. We are all very proud of you. I know this story will inspire others to trust their instincts and never hesitate to seek help. You're welcome. I think the man behind us wants to take some pictures. Do you need me down too? Oh!
Okay, ready? And 3, 2, 1.
We also have a small presentation here of real gifts. This looks good on the wall. This might be good in the playroom.
What do you say?
You're welcome. Good of you. We're very proud of you in South Dundas, and your mom was so.
Good job, Beth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a little paragraph to conclude. Before we conclude, I would be remiss not to also acknowledge the outstanding efforts of the neighbors on Grove Street in Iroquois. Your compassion, quick thinking, and critical incident management were a perfect display of community spirit and neighbors helping neighbors. Well done. Crystal, we wish you the best of health as well.
Thank you.
Good job, Eddie.
Great. Okay, so we'll move on to our public meeting. I'll ask the clerk to read the motion to open the public meeting, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the public meeting to consider a zoning amendment be open at 6:16 p.m.
All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. I have a statement to read before we go in any further in our public meeting. Now declare the public meeting held by the Council of Municipality of South Dundas under Section 34 of the Planning Act to be open. There is one zoning amendment application being considered, seeking to fulfill a condition of consent approval. Zoning bylaw amendment, part of Lot 11, Concession 1, County Road 2, formerly of Township of Matilda. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of or contrary to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will be given the opportunity to do so. Before you make a presentation, I would ask that you provide your name and address. I'm required by the Planning Act to advise you that if you do not make an oral presentation or a written submission before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by Municipal Council tonight, you will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If you wish to make an oral presentation to the application this evening, we ask that you raise your hand and proceed with your comments when called upon to speak. I will now ask our planning consultant, Peter Young, to provide a brief overview of the application, following which we will open the floor to anyone wishing to make an oral presentation on the application. Peter, welcome to South Dundas tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. As you stated, the public meeting is for the zoning and bylaw amendment being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. And these are just a couple of things, just the agenda that you've already stated, and just a note that a decision may be made later this evening. It is on the agenda tonight, or council could choose to defer decision to a later date. As the mayor stated, there is an opportunity to appeal. However, if someone doesn't make oral written submissions, they may not be able to be recognized by the Ontario Land Tribunal. So this application for a zoning amendment is to change a property located on County Road 2 between Iroquois and Morrisburg from rural to a rural holding zone. And this is one of the conditions of severances for two applications. I'll show you a map in a second, but they're for development on the south side on Lakeshore, which is no longer a county road. And it would prohibit basically residential uses unless a plan of subdivision has been registered on the lands. So we can see in the official plan, it's in the rural district. While severances are allowed potentially up to 2 per lot of record, there are restrictions on county roads for strip development and single lot development along major roads, especially County Road 2. However, the policies would allow potential for a subdivision, commercial development, or other major developments that go through the proper studies and do traffic impacts. Currently, the property is zoned rural in the north portion and waterfront residential on the south portion, and this is only for the north portion the bylaws affecting. You can see on Lakeshore the 2 pink properties on the map. That's the 2 residential severances that would be sold for development. And this is just on Street View on the County Road 2 sides, farmland. Currently, the zoning is rural, and this is the other types of uses. So in addition to being allowed potentially for a future subdivision, they could continue to farm the property, have conservation, forestry, hobby farms, different uses like that. So there would be options besides residential in the interim. And again, a holding zone goes to council. It's basically the bylaw would have certain conditions that no development would be allowed unless you meet these conditions. In this case, no residential development is allowed except if it went through the subdivision process, had traffic studies, and hydrogeology, everything like that. So this is kind of the text that would appear in the final bylaw if approved by council. These uses will not be permitted unless there's a plan of subdivision. And it's required to finalize their severance. It also would meet the transportation policies in the provincial policy statement and the county official plan. And we have no comments. We've had a few people call in, just kind of curious and asking different questions, but no one's submitted any formal comments to the municipality prior to this meeting.
Okay.
And that's my presentation. I'll just pull it back to the map.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Are there any comments or questions or concerns from any member of the public this time? I see that the landowners are here. No comments? We're good.
My first council meeting, so I'm kind of just here to listen.
Okay, fair enough. Are there any comments from any member of council on this? I will make a few comments because Peter and the direct, go ahead, Bernard.
That's our property in question, I think. So, thank you. Good stuff, thank you. So, basically, I'm glad that you have the potential to make that application when the time comes. Secondly, perhaps we can get what Peter just presented to us, something in printing we could also have, correct? That's possible?
Yes,
Go ahead.
through the mayor, following a council decision, we would send you a notice of the decision and a copy of the bylaw.
Okay.
So you could give it to someone that, if you're selling the property to someone.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay. So as I was starting to explain, and that's okay, Mr. Foley had the right to speak. When this came out, there was, it was worded to rather prohibit residential development, period, and make it just ag land. And I had a discussion with the Director of Transportation and Peter concerning that, because this land is land within the challenged land in the official plan of 2018, right?
Yes.
Where the ministry wanted to make a lot of this ag land, and I think this was one of the strips that would have been ag land as a block. And we did reverse those decisions, and my challenge to them, if we reverse those decisions, we make this ag land, then is that fair? Because we do have water services there and stuff like that. So if someone imagined something else on that property, I can understand from a county point of view that you want to restrict entrances, but with a proper plan, I think that would be fair. And I did speak to the Foleys early on that, and earlier today on that, and they were happy with that. So we have to keep that in mind as we do things on County Road 2, if that ever happens again, because I know further up the road we had similar, and we want to try to keep that land as open as possible within reason. I think that's the way to say it, and I'm glad that we come up with some sort of solution to make that happen. Any comments, Peter?
Yes, I think this is more clear than the original wording, as it doesn't prohibit residential development altogether. If someone goes through the proper process, they would be allowed to have residential, but they would need to do some more studies. So this is just a holding zone, anticipating there could be future development on the property.
Yeah, And as I've made the Foley's aware, it's not an easy step. It's a big step, but it can be done. Anything further? Okay. If there's nothing further, we'll close the public meeting then.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that the public meeting to consider a zoning bylaw amendment be closed at 6:25 PM.
All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Peter, for now. Okay, we got delegation petitions. We have tonight our drainage superintendent Justin here. Is Monica coming in via Zoom? Okay, so I'll turn it over to you, Justin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us. I will shortly turn it over here to Monica. She can explain the reasons for being here tonight. Monica?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I think we're good to go. Everybody can hear?
Turn it up a little bit.
I don't have the loudest voice.
Not a hearing aid stage up again close.
No, it's at 100, so. Give her a
Is
try.
that any
Try
better?
that, Monica?
Is that any better?
It's a little better.
All right, I'll try to shout at my computer.
Now we can. David's got it fixed now. Go ahead.
All right, Justin, did you want to do an intro, or am I just taking over here?
You can go ahead. Everybody knows you. I think you've been part of South Dundas for a number of reasons now, so.
All right, let's give this a shot. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So good evening. For those of you that don't know, my name is Monica Shade, and I'm a drainage engineer with Shade Group, Inc. I was appointed by the municipality of South Dundas to prepare an engineer's report under Section 78.5 of the Drainage Act for the proposed realignment of a section of the Zandbergen municipal drain. So tonight's presentation will include an introduction on the purpose of tonight's meeting, a brief history of the existing drainage system, the reason this process was initiated, a summary of my engineer's report, and an overview of what the next steps in the process will be to adopt a new report. Oops. So in fitting with the process outlined in Ontario Regulation 521, which outlines the process under which a minor improvement or a Section 78.5 project is to proceed, this meeting serves to address the requirements of Section 8, subsection 5 of this regulation. The purpose of this meeting is to present the report and accept it as is or request changes. If accepted, Council will prepare a provisional bylaw authorizing the works as outlined in the report. The Zandbergen drain was formally adopted under Section 4 of the Drainage Act and was known as the George Cooper Award Drain before being adopted as a petition drain. The Zandbergen drain starts just upstream of Sybert Road and outlets approximately 4.2 kilometers north at the Black Creek. The total watershed served is about 389 hectares per the 1979 engineer's report. In order to proceed under the new minor improvement process, the process needs to be confirmed to meet a number of conditions. There are 7 conditions in total, all of which were reviewed prior to undertaking this report to confirm that the project conformed with the limitations as set out by the regulations. The project was confirmed to comply with the necessary conditions, and a summary of this has been included within the engineer's report. So this map shows the alignment of the existing drainage path and then highlights as a dashed line the proposed area to be altered. The area proposed to be altered is located directly north of the Matilda landfill property. So an engineer's report was prepared in accordance with the guidelines of the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs and included the various highlights as noted on this slide. The report includes a brief summary of the history of the drain, how the project meets with the conditions under Ontario Regulation 500/21, a review of the alignment for impacts to hydrology and erosion, reference that the existing alignment is to be abandoned, how the municipality is to deal with future maintenance, and a summary of both the anticipated construction costs and engineering costs. Following the completion of this presentation, Council will allow the initiating property owner an opportunity to provide input. Council may then decide to either send the report back for revisions or adopt the report as submitted. Following a decision to proceed, the report would be provisionally adopted by bylaw and there would be an opportunity for appeals. Following the appeals period, the project can be tendered and constructed. For this particular project, the township, and specifically Justin, will be looking after the permitting, tendering, and contract administration works. So that concludes my presentation, and we'll open up the opportunity for initiating landowners council and any such prescribed persons to ask questions.
Are there any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this report? Councilor Mellon?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Byvells. Everything in here I like, Monica. It's a required drain that the landowners need and want. It makes perfect sense with the realignment of the boundary for the landfill. The only question I have is when we tender this out in your report, the moving of the filling in of the old ditch, like, will be included. That'll be a secondary line in the tender, and I just question whether it's even needed if there's going to be a private agreement with the one landowner to have them look after the moving of the filling in the old ditch. I just question why we would need that in there.
So it's included in the report. It's included in the report because it's part of the project. The tender does not have to include for everything that is in my report. So
Okay.
my report has the project as a whole. The tendering, which Justin's going to look after, from what I understand, you have a backdoor deal with the landowner. They've agreed they want to fill it in themselves. That's entirely fine. It's overseen by the township, but that's part of the tendering stage. That's separate from the report.
Thank you, Monica. I think
Perfect.
we'll deal with Justin on that one then.
Awesome.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
Well, I had,
Council.
but it's going to all pertain to when the tender goes out, which I definitely want to see prior to going out. Like, I have notes here, I just want to have questions.
Like, what kind of question, Councilor Wells? We have a drainage superintendent that will put that
Well,
tender out
just
shortly.
once
so-
I'm not going to sit here and ask him how he's going to put the tender together tonight, Mayor. I'm just going to wait till he puts the tender together. I read the report, what's involved, like as far as, this is a different situation because we're going through a deal with the landowner and that, so.
It's unique, because we let our staff put out the tender. Do we not trust them to do it?
Well, what's wrong with, like, taking a look at it prior, like, okay, here's my question
Then
then.
it comes to council
Okay.
table. That's the way it would work.
If you want to go down, when it says in your report about removing the wood and everything on the west side, and in the report it says about the landowner, he can remove it or whatever, and if it doesn't say if he agrees to remove it, then it comes time for tender. So my question to you is, you're going to have in your tender, it's going to be all unit pricing and everything involved in there. Like if it comes down to, okay, the landowner's not going to remove this or fill something in, that there's going to be unit pricing involved in the whole tender process. That was one of my questions. Like, have the contractor supply a unit price.
Yep. So through you, Mr. Mayor, that is something I'll likely put in as a provisional item. So say the landowner doesn't remove his trees, there'll be a provisional item for whatever. I'll go out and take a look. There's not that many trees, but I'll go take a look and take stock of how many trees there are that actually have to be moved, and that'll be a provisional item. So if
And
it's
it's just, like I said, it was nothing, it wasn't a big deal. I'm just asking, when it goes out for tender, if it's not in there, I don't want a contractor come back to us, say, well, okay, it's $10,000 to remove those trees. I want to see a unit price involved in the tendering process, which obviously Monica just said you're taking care of. So
Yep.
that's all I was saying.
Yeah, I'll set it up as a standard tender. Actually, more to that is I do have another tender for another drain going out hopefully tomorrow, if not Wednesday. It'll be my standard drain template for tenders, so feel free to review it if you want, Councillor Wells.
And performance bonds and stuff like that?
Won't likely be required on a job this small since it's only 10.
No, I'm just putting that out there because we've been here different times down this road where we've had contracts and we're not covering our butt, and just because of situations like that. So I'm just want to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed, even though it's a small project.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from any other member of council? Councilor Mellon?
Just, I guess if we're gonna get down onto that, Justin, like on the time frame from the second reading here tonight, you can put it out to tender immediately?
Actually, through the Drainage Act as written, and Monica, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, the third reading is required before tender. I don't see why that's in the Drainage Act, but it is written that way.
So it can't go to tender?
Tomorrow, no.
But
What's
the
the time
appeals
frame
period.
from the second reading to the third reading?
Yeah, the appeals period on this process is significantly shorter, and
Yeah,
this is
10 days.
this is one of the first processes through this act. Like, this is very, very new. But yes, I believe it's 10 days, as Justin said.
So the time frame between when, after tonight to the third reading, when we can do it on tender?
The
How long
next-
we gotta wait between second and third?
The next meeting I can
Next
have.
meeting,
yeah,
okay.
as long as there's no appeals.
You're gonna have it all ready to fly her out the next,
Yep.
on the, okay.
Okay, you understand the next meeting's not till September 12th, I believe.
Okay. What's the shortest time frame you can do this in?
The appeals period is 10 days.
10 days? Okay,
Yeah.
let's have a meeting in 10 days. 5-minute virtual meeting, I don't care, this needs to go out before the next council meeting. As far as I'm concerned, the tender should be gone out before that. If, the only thing we're gonna deal with is giving this third reading,
Okay, Council Mellon's requesting a meeting. Is the majority of council good with that? If we can schedule it? Okay?
Okay.
Clerk's good with that? Okay, then we will, once the appeal period is done, we know this one's an easier one, there's no doubt
Yep.
about it. I understand your level of concern to try to get this out and get it over and done with. You have to understand there's a crop there right now too, so
oh yeah,
don't, just think that one through. The soybeans ain't gonna, will not be coming off till October probably, so you could tender it out. and
Is
still
there any
have the work done.
is there any crops actually on the land on the side? There is,
Mm-hmm.
okay. the
There
portion
is
the
on
land
all
lot.
of it.
Yeah, he
The
went
whole
to
thing's
the
cropped.
edge and
I've
including
walked it a few times now. The crops have grown.
Yes, and there is a penalty clause.
But let's
as you
face it,
know,
it's not
so-
gonna, I wanna get it on on contractor's to-do list, if you will, so that we don't miss out on.
Well, okay, we'll honor your 10-day thing as best we
Yep.
can. How's that?
Well, and while
I'm
it can
good.
be
Let's drive on.
tendered, we're still at the mercy of the approval agencies too, because it will require permits from DFO and SNCA. So
Okay, well, can you work on them?
They have
Justin
been,
and I have talked, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the way it works with Section 785 is you have to submit the report when you're applying for your permits. So I wasn't able to apply for permits until last
You,
week.
you need to
Monica?
buy, well, yeah, so what Justin and I talked about is we snuck it in early. Technically, you need a bylaw to go through the expedited process under the agreement they have with DFO. If you don't have a bylaw, it's treated as any water course project, and there's a 10 to 15 page application that you fill out, and the process is significantly more complex. So once you have a bylaw, it's governed by some agreement that they have with DFO and the Drainage Act that allows them to go through a permitting process that's much faster and much easier to work with, because it's governed by the Drainage Act then, at least.
It's called the DART protocols.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the one.
That's it.
Yes, the one I had to work on South Nation when it all came through and they wanted to ignore it. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to play the game, Councilor
Yep.
Mellon. Just,
Yep.
Yeah, I know, there's no other way around it.
okay, we'll do our due diligence as best we
Yeah,
can.
we will.
Okay,
Yeah, that's all I can ask, thank you.
okay. Anything further? Seeing none, thank you, Monica, for your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, too far. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we'll move into action requests. First one is FS 2022-07, the 2021 financial statements.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that council accept report FS 2022-07 to approve the financial statements as presented by MNP LLP on June 27th, 2022.
Sean, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report tonight is to approve the 2021 year-end statements that were presented by Mr. Pollock on June 27th. At that time, Mr. Pollock had mentioned that there was still some testing to be done on the tangible capital assets section of the financial statements. That testing has now been completed, and we got the go-ahead from Mr. Pollock to put these on an agenda and have them approved. There are a number of transfers to reserves for surpluses for year-ended 2021 that are listed there in the report, and I'll attempt to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mason. Comments, questions, concerns, Deputy Mayor?
Actually, I have kind of a silly question, but this is all fine, but I see the communication plan for this, so I understand, like, what are we saying to the public with this? That we would just move our surplus to, like, it says social media and website, like, what are we, what is the, how are we,
This is a public document.
which I understand, so,
Our financial statements will
Yeah.
end up being part of another public document somewhere
Yeah.
back there that everybody will ignore except for certain people that can actually read that stuff and enjoy it. because
Yeah.
You and I both know, even
Yeah.
I, the number person, look at it and glaze over now.
no, and I know it's all public, and I know it would naturally be posted, I just, like, the communications plan just kind of threw me a little bit, because normally we wouldn't, it's just on there, right, so.
Okay,
That's all.
so what's the plan?
So we are required under Municipal Act to ensure that the financial statements are posted on our website. So there is a section in our website under finance that has all of our financial statements. So
Yep.
they'll be posted there.
So we're going to let people know we're posting them there?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
usually do post that
That's
as far
good.
as part of our social media, that the financial statements have been approved by council and direct them to our website.
Yeah.
And that's kind of usually how we've done things in the past.
I think it's a fair question
Yeah,
if we
absolutely.
put that there's a communications plan to ask what the communications
Yep.
plan is.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing on the numbers?
No,
Okay.
can't argue with the auditor.
Councilor Wells is going to prove you wrong.
No, I have no
Councilor Lewis.
questions, no.
Councilor Wells?
No. There was one question that was answered when Jamie was here the last time about our debt and stuff, which you made aware, like on Campbell Street, that, anyways, I wrote that down, then it all came back to me again that we're not allowed to do that, so.
Yep.
So I
We're
guess
stuck with
that-
what we got.
Yeah, but like,
Unfortunately.
we let Jamie go through everything. But anyway, it was a good discussion that night, so it's all good.
You gotta take the good, the bad, and those loans.
Exactly.
Trust me on that. Yeah. The 175 loan on the capping the old Williamsburg landfill, about the cheapest money we've ever had and will have. So.
Yeah.
Councilor Mellon?
Yeah, I agree with everything in here except for, and I said this before, I'm just gonna throw this out on the table. We're 25,000 short on our fleet repairs right now, with more to come. I would take 70,000 out of,
Councilor Mellon, tell you what, since you want to do that, that's fair enough. We can't do nothing here. So your motion isn't in the right spot.
Okay.
When I pulled the fleet repairs, you can bring that forward. How's that?
okay, because I'd like to
Because
set
it'll
up,
come out of working reserve, wherever you want to do
Yeah.
it. We
I'd like
can't
to set
touch
up
what
a
we're
separate
doing here,
reserve.
okay? This is this. Basically rubber stamping last year, and then we'll worry about this year after.
okay? I can live with that for now. I'll
Yeah,
bring,
sure?
I'll bring this up when we get to
Okay.
that section of the.
I see you still like spending that surplus money if you can spend it.
No, I'm being realistic in where we're at. That's it's coming out of one pocket or the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. I don't disagree. Anything else? I'll cap off 2021 by saying between council and staff, we in theory had a good year. We didn't spend as much. There were things that were within our control, out of our control, and in the end, this is the number that's left. I think council needs to realize that the next council is going to look at 2022, and it would be nice if everything was this good, but things have challenged us significantly since we drew up our budget, and I'm sure staff's looking at it wondering how we're going to work with it, but I think they're doing their best with considering fuel inflation on its own and everything else that has crept along, and we'll have that discussion on fleet again this evening. So nice to have a good year. We have a little extra money in the kitty to put in those reserves. Doesn't happen every year, but it's nice to know we've done it in 2021. Anything further? We've all heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Thank you, Sean. Next one, P 2022-18 Arena Entrance Project Reserve Transfer.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that council approve a transfer of $100,000 from the Recreation and Facility Reserve to fund consulting costs for the arena entrance project.
David, welcome. Oh, he's even got the accountant there. Important. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this one's a little bit of a housekeeping on a misunderstanding between myself and the Deputy Treasurer during budget season last year. So the money from the 2021 budget for the arena project was moved into reserves at the end of the year, and we did not take it back out of the reserves. Was the misunderstanding between us. So this is just a formality to take the money out of reserves, as we did continue on with the design project that was approved in 2021. So if you have any questions or if Sean has anything else to add.
Sean, you better explain that a little bit more. I know that he's good at what he does and you're better at what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As David had mentioned, what had happened during the budget process is what he had implied with the $100,000 transfer is not what I inferred. So I just recorded it as a transfer to reserve for 2022 as opposed to a capital expenditure. Essentially, I put it on the wrong line in the budget.
Okay. Fair enough. It's basically a technicality.
Yes.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this one? The wheels are spinning here. Go ahead,
Oh, yeah,
Councilor
it was
Wells.
spinning.
'Cause I had questions too. Now it makes a little
So-
more sense.
So just for clarification on this, the 2021 $100,000 we budget for design, consulting and all that. So by taking this out, the way I'm looking at this report is that you're going to need another 100,000 to finish the engineer, like the design and consulting part for this arena? Is that, like, I'm just looking, so are we looking, because originally it was gonna be like 100,000, now you're saying it's gonna, when it's all said and done, just to get the design shovel ready, it's gonna cost us like 200,000?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wells. So I don't have the exact number of the arena Phase 2 tender closes on Friday. But the schematic design that we've done so far was 40,000, so we still have 60,000 remained there. That'll go to.
Of the 2021 money?
Of the 2021 money, that'll go towards design of this Phase 2 for the tender that's closing this week. And then the additional 100,000 that we put into reserve this year is just going into a reserve for future funding of the project.
Okay. Yeah, which, okay. We're going here, like, it's showing a deficit for 2022, but that's not, in theory, that's not right. There won't, we have the money there, don't we?
Go ahead, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair
Unless I'm
to
misunderstanding
Councillor
something.
Wells. Technically, it is a deficit because there's no budget amount attached to it. So what this report is doing is essentially going to attach a budget amount of $100,000 to that $40,000 we've already spent.
Yeah, so when we agree to take it out of reserve, then it won't be a deficit.
Correct.
Okay.
It'll be recorded as a deficit, but it'll be covered under.
Because
under
of
the-
someone's mistake or
That's right.
misunderstanding.
Correct.
That's,
To both,
that's the
yes.
clarification I wanted. No, that's just, I'm good now.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions? All heard the motion, those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next one, PE 2022-19, Iroquois and Morrisburg Waterfront Reserve Transfers.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that council approve the transfer of $2,150 from each of the Iroquois and Morrisburg waterfront reserves to fund the purchase of water fountains.
Go ahead, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So similar to the previous report that you guys just were talking about, so in 2019, there was a donation made to the municipality for some funding for some water bottle filling stations and fountains at the Iroquois waterfront and Earl Baker Park. This project kind of got put on hold with COVID. I'm working on bringing it back to life. One of those steps is the money wasn't taken out of reserve during budget time this year, so this is me taking the money out of reserves this year, so that way we can start to move forward with the project.
Mr. Mason, good with that explanation? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wells.
Going back to the donation for the 4,300 from the 100 men, wasn't there already a fountain bought originally, like you're saying Earl Baker Park, but originally, if I think back, it was for the beach where the water fountain was supposed to go originally. It wasn't for the Earl Baker Park. So is there a water fountain there now?
At the beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that money there, so I don't know what's going on here about, obviously you would have talked about it, but I'm a little confused here because the money was originally donated for one at that beach and I believe one at Iroquois Beach originally.
Go ahead.
I just need clarification,
Thanks, Mr.
that's
Mayor.
all I'm
No,
asking.
so the waterfront committee had originally installed the one at the beach. That was a separate entity. And then Michael Burton went and asked for additional monies for the waterfront, the water fountain at the playground. He did
At
that.
Earl Baker?
Yeah, he did that at 100 Women That Care. I was there. And then he also went to the other for the Iroquois. So it's all separate. There's 3 water fountains, but the 2 water fountains, and I'm thrilled that the staff are bringing it forward tonight because thanks, David, they were getting lost in the shuffle.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, the money was collected, but the water fountains were never installed. So David is clearing it up, which will make everyone
You
thrilled.
said the 100 women, this, in the background here, it says 100 men.
Could be that. There were two instances where
No,
they went
which
for water
I
fountains.
just,
Yeah.
clarification, just to,
The one that was put at the beach, that's before we were here.
yeah.
That's before we were here. It's not
Oh,
even
was
part
it?
of the one at the beach, the
No,
funding
it was
for it?
here. No, it was here.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm positive.
Okay,
Well, Donald
but
will
that's,
know.
we're,
Well,
Either put
we
in when
did
he
it
was there or
with this council here.
Okay,
And
this is
maybe
not
I
that.
didn't read the minutes or something for the
Yeah.
thing. That, I'll apologize for that, but I just need a clarification on this because I didn't know, I thought the money was already,
it was my understanding that the water fountain that's at the beach was purchased by the waterfront committee, and it
And
sat
it
around,
could
sat
have been.
around for a bit.
It could have
These
been.
are 2 additional water fountains that
Okay.
were put in.
okay, that's,
Yeah.
I'm good with the transfer. I have no issues with that. I
Yeah.
just want to clarify where the money originally
And
came from.
and it's important because there's a reporting structure with both, with the 100 men or women that care, that the people that have received
Yeah.
money go back and show what they've done, right? So it got kind of lost with COVID.
Yeah. No, I'm good with the transfer.
Okay. Councillor Lewis, anything?
No.
Council Mellon?
I'm just glad to see we're getting them up.
Okay, all heard in motion, those in favor, opposed to any, motion carries. I'm sure they will be in Iroquois too, it gets mentioned at every meeting. Okay, next one, PE 2022-20, Winchester Spring Park parking.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that council accept report PE 2022-20 to complete the installation of a new entrance and parking lot at Winchester Springs Park at 12240 County Road 5.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in front of you is a report tonight with regards to the Winchester Springs parking lot, which we discussed on May 9th. I put the two options that were discussed that night there. Council went with option one that evening during discussion, which was to work on getting the parking lot installed this year. Staff said that we would complete the entrance permit and then come back once we had the entrance permit and a little bit more stuff firmed up with a cost estimate for council's approval. The entrance permit was received on July 29th, so Director Hyman and myself went out there and staked it out and did some estimates, depending on exactly how long everything takes within a few. We're looking at about a day and a half's worth of work and some truckloads of stone and taking the topsoil out. We estimate about $35,000 to $5,000 in a deficit for the parks and repairs budget. That'll result from this unbudgeted project this year. If you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Council Mellon? what do
Drive
you think
on.
of deficit?
We can't have a park without a parking lot. Doesn't make sense. And I don't want people unloading and young kids and stuff on the county road. Option one, get it done ASAP.
Okay, Councilor Wells.
Okay, well, I'm not taking that route. I've been by there hundreds of times, like there's no ditch or nothing. So as far as parking goes, they can pull right on the grass and park. It wasn't budgeted for this year. I think it should go in 2023's budget. And like I said, that park's not used a lot. At any, I go by there a lot. So my thing is to put it off for 2023's budget and have you come back and ask for the money then.
Okay, so Councilor Mellon's on option one, you're on option two. Councilor Lewis?
Option one, we talked about it the day that we were in Winchester Springs. And I don't know if it rains for 3 or 4 days, that grass is just going to get all tore up. So I'm with option one. Let's get it done in 2022, and then we don't have to worry about it no more.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm actually option two. I drove there too and parked on the side of the road. I'm a mom. I didn't see how it would be difficult to park alongside. I think we can have this discussion at next year's budget if I'm here to discuss it, and if not, well, that's okay too.
Give the mayor the vote. It's okay. I'm actually good with option one. I just want to get it over and done with. I don't believe parking along the road there is safe, and people will tend to still use the road instead of just going on the grass. Not a big keen person on deficit, but we have some extra money in our working reserve, so it may not look good next year, but at least we got the job done. I do have one question though. The Canada Post boxes now, where are they located? Because they're not still in that parking lot anymore, so are they kind of along the side of the road, or?
Yeah. So, yeah, to answer your question, Mr. Mayor, I think they're right on what would be the property line, but they're just a little inlet off the road at the moment.
Okay. Is there any consideration to have them put in the parking spot, or is that gonna cause us issues in the winter? Because then we'll have to clean it. Gonna clean it anyway? It's gonna be a non-clean parking lot in the winter then?
Yeah, so there's no amenities in that park that are winter ready.
Okay. Okay, I just thought I'd bring it forward. I guess I shouldn't ask the silly question that if you ask North Dundas to pay for half of it,
As it was from the discussion on May 9th, we discussed that. I didn't bring it up because that day we discussed that we'd save that card for a day that we have a play structure that we need or something larger that we wanted to do. That was the discussion that day.
You think, CAO? Should we at least ask?
It's certainly something we can float by their CAO and see if there's an appetite for a partnership to do the upgrades, considering that not only will South Dundas residents enjoy the parking lot, but also North Dundas residents. So we
Yeah,
can
and I'm
certainly
not
do that.
saying this in a bad way.
Yep.
I think it's time that we in North Dundas kind of share the amenities in Winchester Springs
Yep.
somewhat equally. I know that there's other challenges, but I'll leave them go to
We can
another
certainly-
day. But
we
this
can
one,
certainly.
we should at least reach out. And then certainly if we have to go to a play structure when we have to spend 20, 25 grand, I think it's only fair that there's some due consideration on their part. So I think we should at least ask. But I'm good with option one. So maybe you're gonna write option one in the
motion, yes.
motion, please. Okay. Any further discussion? All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Okay, PE 2022-21, Airport Plaza flagpole.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that council approve report PE 2022-21 to replace or repair the existing nautical flagpole located at the Iroquois Plaza.
David, once again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was brought up at the last council meeting. I only had 4 hours to prepare for that one. This one, I managed to get a little bit more pricing from some Canadian suppliers and stuff, so I wanted to bring in front of council tonight sort of the two options that were discussed that night. I know council was leaning towards repairing the pole that night. I just wanted to, we put together some rough estimates with regards to, I got a quote from the engineering company for just the engineering of the new foundation and repair detail. The scope from there would still include taking down the pole, trucking it to a steel shop to do the repair, welding the aluminum on, bringing it back, remounting it, and a new foundation. So rough staff estimates for that were about $10,000. I'd look at that as us taking a flagpole that's currently failing and sort of repairing it back to sort of a midlife crisis, so about a C level, at the cost of $10,000 versus if we buy a new pole, it would come with the engineering. The only thing it doesn't come with is the foundation, so you're still responsible for installing your own foundation there. And we'd sort of save some mobilizing costs because we can just sort of go in and out in one day. So I'm looking for some direction from council, whether they'd look to, and then obviously we'd be taking a failing pole to a brand new pole. So the hardware and ropes and all of that stuff would be brand new as well. So we're going to a brand new asset, therefore extending the lifespan. So just, I'm open to either option. I'm just looking for comments from council as to which option they'd prefer to go with.
Okay, Madam Clerk, who moved and seconded again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Councillor Wells and then Deputy Mayor Gardner.
Okay, so right now the motion has neither option in it, so I guess we're gonna have to add option one, option two in. And you have no preference? Zero preference? Because you're not giving us a recommendation.
I'm open to both options, Mr. Mayor, which I know you love.
Councilor Wells.
And just happened, you know, I was in Iroquois there this afternoon delivering a piece of equipment, and I stopped and took a good look at that after reading this report. And when you say rough, it's definitely rough. Like the concrete to me, I didn't bring a drill up to drill down to see how solid the concrete is, and you know, you can drill and know exactly how hard concrete can be. We'll take a aluminum pole, which I don't see there's little marks on it, hardware. I can't believe it's gonna cost $10,350 to do that. If you were to take that pole off, lay it down, put new hardware on right there, and I know a couple welding shops that could come. You could probably even sandblast that and replace the thing. It's not, the steel's not that bad, and shim it. I want them to have their nautical pole, but brand new, I think we can still, this report is not, is too out there. Like, a rough estimate is just, and to have someone engineer a foundation for a flagpole at $2,100 is costly. I'm not saying. And going, if you checked, it was a D class there, and Eastern Engineering did this, correct, David?
Yes.
And in the $400 for the second part, where they oversee and do a over review and have the site things and all that, and part of the building code, you go to the Ontario Building Code, there's not even there's a section in there, but for flags, there's nothing in the Ontario Building Code. There is in the International Building Code. So I want this done. I want them to have their nautical pole, but I think we just have to put a little more into this. And if it comes down to the fact where I'm willing to spend the money in next year's budget, we're going to reuse the poles over at the Civic Building now. So what we put in budget for those 2 poles is gone. But I would let it come back to the next council and re-budget to do a proper pole if that's the way you want to go, or look into a different avenue to have some local welding companies come and look at it. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wells, the only thing I'll note, Councillor Wells, is that both options, we're probably going to end up with a new foundation. So you're not going to be adhesive setting.
But you said
anchors.
probably, I've
Well,
been
the
around
engine-
concrete all my life, and what I seen there today, like I'll just leave it at that. Like I'm not, I think that can be used, but that's my personal opinion. Am I an engineer? For a flagpole, I don't think we need an engineer for a flagpole, but anyways, I'm just gonna leave it at that today, David.
So you're leaning kind to a modified one. Or
To
nothing.
fix that.
Okay,
Like,
that's option one, is the
okay,
fix.
option 1, that's, I won't go into detail anymore.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to keep
Yep,
it to.
no, okay,
To me,
stick to-
if all you spoke about was repair, so that's
Okay,
option one.
option 1.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
So, proposed lifespan, if we fix the existing pole ballpark, and what a new flagpole would give us?
So a new aluminum flagpole nowadays is easily, for the pole itself, you're looking at
Yeah.
50 years. It mostly comes down to the hardware.
Yep.
I mean, with the poles we have here with internal hardware, you can get the same lifespan out of it. With the nautical poles, the hardware isn't all internal, so you don't quite get as long out of them.
Okay,
So I would say, you could the pole will easily last 50 years. It's nice cast aluminum.
Yeah.
It's not our lifetime's problem.
yeah,
The hardware on it, you're only looking, if you get a brand new one, you might get 20 years out of the hardware, and you might have to do a little bit of oiling and replacing some pulleys, but it's
yeah,
sort of a pending factor there.
okay,
Versus, so if we replace the bottom, we might be looking at replacing the pulleys. We can do it at the same time. You can sort of work it out, but we're already 25 years in on that pole.
okay,
Right.
so half.
Yeah.
Right, so fix it to half. And it's interesting, because I was at a meeting in Prescott, and I walked down to their waterfront and saw a very nice nautical pole, with the American flag as well. And, there, and it was huge. Like, it was the base of it, the structure of it was quite structured compared to what, I don't think that's what you got quoted, though. You just got quoted to replace kind of what we already have with the new one, like your quote,
The
visually,
the
yeah.
new or the
The new
repair.
one, is it just, it's gonna look similar to what the old one was?
Yeah, so
As
through
far
you,
as-
Mr. Mayor, so just for reference, the one in Prescott's a 5 flagger. The one that we're putting up it's 3 flags.
It's
plus,
beautiful, yeah.
Plus the
Tucked, yeah.
I can't think of the term for it, the yardman on it.
Yeah.
So that brings ours up to 4, but the one in Prescott takes 5 flags
Yeah.
horizontally across it, where ours only takes 3 and then has a yardman on it.
Yeah.
So ours would be like for like with what's there now.
Okay. It's tricky. I mean, I agree with Councillor Wells that if the fix was simple enough to do whatever, just based on your report though, I was definitely leaning to replacement. It doesn't make sense for me. I would just replace it and then we're done with it, as opposed to, fixing and putting whatever. And I mean, it is in a high traffic spot, and I think I don't want to be in a position where we wish we would have just replaced it. So I would go for 2.
Councilor Lewis?
So if I understand you right, option 1, option 2, they're both nautical poles.
One's fixed, one's replaced.
David, do you know how long it would take for the pole to get here?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, in the quote, it's 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
2 months.
I think I have to agree with Deputy Mayor Gardner on this one. For the difference of $5,000 in 25 years, which I most likely will not see, I would go with option 2.
Councilor Mallon?
I'm gonna be quick. 1.
That's not quick. Councilor Wells?
Okay, just one more statement here. If,
You need to talk to me because I got to make this judgment apparently.
well, I can change my mind before it goes to you.
Fair enough. I like that.
Okay, just saying, going by this report, David, if it actually came in at 10,000, I just want to clarify why I'm picking option 1. If it came in to 10,350, I would definitely go with option 2. It's a no-brainer. You spend another 3,000-4,000 for new. What I'm saying is, I can't believe if a local welding firm or something went there and we looked at this, that we could get it lower. But if this was the actual case where it came down that a local person or whoever, engineer came in and blah, 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 said it was gonna be 10,350, I would definitely go with option 2. But by going with option 2, I would definitely not do it. It wasn't budgeted for this year, for that 15, that pole will be there. It's not gonna fall down, or we can take it down and replace it in the spring. I wouldn't spend the money this year because it wasn't budgeted for. It goes to 2023 to do it properly. And that's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So I can be devil's advocate. If we took all your low numbers, we'd spend half, 4850, or I might be out a little bit because I'm just really running it through here fast. So it wouldn't be 10, it'd be 4850. If you're looking at, I agree, Council well, if you're gonna spend 10 grand, you must spend 15 and be done with it. If you're spending 5, just fix it up, I can live with that, but you got some mystery in there, right?
So, yeah.
You can say it halfway, so you say $7,500.
Yeah, there's
Would that be
definitely
fair?
more risk involved in repairing, in that we don't know exactly what the repair is going to cost, which was, I think I sort of outlined a little bit of that in the report, that repair has its unknown, because
And it does.
to Deputy Mayor's point, she saw the one in Prescott, it's got a beefy base. The ones that I ordered, so the ones that we have in stock right now, the foundation on them is a 36-inch diameter sonotube. The anchor rods are 4-1/4 bolts that are inset in the concrete, 36 inches.
Yeah.
So they has 3-foot anchor bolts that are 1.25 inches, and that's just for a flagpole that holds 1 flag. Now, we're about to design a foundation for a flagpole that holds 4 flags, and the foundation is a bit of an unknown as to what we're gonna get there.
And you being an engineer, you know it's always 500% more when people are engineering stuff, eh? Usually. Just saying.
It's called the factor of safety.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I'm done.
So if it's 10 grand, you're willing to look at a new one then? Trouble is, we don't know.
Yeah.
Unless you,
Well, okay, I don't know how much detail went into actually, if you go and drill that, you can take that out and cut it down, like I've repaired foundations and cut it down half the thing and cast new bolts in there for it, like and build a base for it. Like it's not rocket science to fix that.
So, yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wells, my concern is that the existing foundation is about an 18 to 20 inch diameter, and the diameter that I'm getting for our flagpoles, similar to for the municipal office here, are already 36.
Yeah, but I'm talking about replacing the pole that's there if we were to use it.
We'd still be required to put in, the engineer will have us put in a new foundation, because the moment they rubber stamp the foundation, they're tied to the entire flagpole system. Not,
I realize what they're tied to, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying, we can fix something to what we think it's going to be good for as far as a flagpole. If it's actually, and did you know a flagpole is not actually a structure? So a structure has to be engineered. A flagpole doesn't. So well, you can call it whatever you want.
So I'll put on my
Okay,
engineer.
I'm gonna,
I don't want to get this back and forth now.
Okay,
One at a time, please.
Okay, I'm just gonna
Through
finish.
the mayor.
I'm gonna finish. I'm good with, if we want to take that route, put a new flagpole in, which Iroquois deserves. I think they deserve it immensely. And put it off to 2023 that we spend put a new foundation, blah, 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 and a brand new pole. And I'm not gonna talk anymore about this. I'm done.
Okay, so you want a new pole, but you don't want to spend it this year.
Exactly. Well,
You can't
yeah,
do that.
okay.
Understood that you can't tie the next council to a new flagpole, right?
I'm not.
Well,
I'm just giving an opinion right now. There's nothing in there, like the motion, the options aren't even on the motion right
no,
now.
I know. So technically, you
So
own
we don't
option
have
one
to-
and option two. If you another one wants to make an option three, that's
Or we
okay.
just defer this till 2023 and discuss it, or someone else discuss it. I don't know. Yes. If we go with option two, I don't want to spend the money this year, and here we go again.
I was going to say. because-
I know what you're saying, but I'm
Yeah.
just, it's,
Oh, okay.
we're a firm believer
Can-
on budgeting
can-
for stuff.
Can I say this?
Okay, sure.
Can I say this? Question. How much would we have spent in replacing what was there with two flagpoles? Flagpoles and your 36 by whatever, how much?
So, yeah, to you, Mr. Mayor, the budget this year was $8,500. I think it was 8, and I think we were gonna end up a little high on our 8,000 that we budgeted this year.
So probably 10-ish,
I think it'd probably be less than that, closer to 85.
okay. Because we were gonna spend that already. So we're gonna either double it with a brand new one, or we spend a little bit more and fix up the old girl and hope it lasts. If you looked at it, what, in your unprofessional opinion, will it last another 15 years?
Personally, I think it will. But you know what? If we don't want to take this to 2023 and maybe the next council just says, okay, we're going to eliminate it, let's go with option two and take the money out of the reserve and get it done.
We had some money from last year.
Because I want to see Iroquois have, it means a lot to them.
Okay, then I would, if you think Iroquois deserves the pole, give them option two, be done with it. That way there's no second
Okay?
guessing.
I'm done talking. I'm good.
Okay. Then option two it will be.
Okay. Seems to take a long time to get to some decisions sometimes, don't it?
Anyway. Okay, so the motion will now read that it has option two on it, and to be honest, I would prefer that you give us clear direction, because this wishy thing, if we don't like your direction, we'll say no, and then we'll go from there, okay? That's my unprofessional opinion. Okay, so right now it says option two. Is there any further discussion? Well, heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. That was pretty weak up and down there, Councilor Mellon. Understood, I know. I will say this, before we leave this, when the time comes to put the flags on, that debate comes back to this council table on where the flags go. Because it's not going to be part of our policy, and that means you need to go around it. Thank you. Okay, next one, CAO 2022-09. CAZ property purchase authorized transfer from reserves.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Wells, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas authorize a transfer from the landfill reserve in the amount of $663,597 for the purchase of properties outlined in Report CAO 2022-09 from William and Betty Cook and Carl and Marie Sears for the purpose of creation of a contamination attenuation zone, CAZ, surrounding the Matilda landfill.
So council will recall we've had discussions in regards to the contamination attenuation zone surrounding the Matilda landfill. It's part of our process in actually going for an expansion to extend the life of the Matilda landfill for an extra 3 to 4 years. So this is kind of the last piece that we need to submit to the ministry. And so what I'm looking for tonight is just the authorization to transfer the money from our reserve, our landfill reserve, to fund the cost of the 2 properties, with the other property coming back at a later date, probably the end of this year. So if council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any comments, questions, concerns, any member of council on this? Seeing none, all heard in motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Is that better, Councillor Wells? Didn't take long there, did we? We just spent $663,000. Anyway, moving on. Next one, CAO 2022-10, Morrisburg and Iroquois Water Tower Rehabilitation Project.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas approve the transfer of $36,124.82 from the Fire Reserve Fund to the South Dundas Water Reserve for the cost of the remove/installation of the fire communication equipment, BEARCOM, for the Iroquois and Morrisburg Water Tower Rehabilitation Project.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is a wrap-up to our project that Council endeavored in 2021 to do the rehabilitation of both our Morrisburg and Iroquois Water Tower. Baracco NDT Inc. Did the project management and the quality insurance on the project. Doing all the work extended our asset 30 plus years for both of our villages. Part of the project and written into the tender was that the municipality would be responsible for the removal of the equipment to attach to the scaffolding once it went up, as well as the reinstallation when the scaffolding was coming down. As part of that, the on-tower who did the work did bill directly Xplornet as well as ODA for the work to do that removal and installation. Tonight in front of you is the cost for the BEARCOM, as the municipality 2 years ago did purchase all new fire communication equipment from BEARCOM. We are the owners of the equipment, and based on the fact that it's more of an operational issue as far as not part of the water project or the water users, looking at transferring the funds from the fire reserve back to the water reserve in the amount of $36,124.82. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Any comments, questions, concerns on this transfer of funds? Seeing none, all heard motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. So before we move into bylaws, break Peter's heart here, I'm going to call for a 10-minute break.
Number 2022-87, being a bylaw to rezone.
That better? I don't know where that happened, sorry. We'll restart again, just so everybody knows I'm around yet. So, bylaws 2022-87, zoning bylaw amendment.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-87, being a bylaw to rezone vacant land on County Road 2, being the retained portion of consent application B1622 and B1722, more specifically known as part of Lot 11, Concession 1, from rural to rural holding 1, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Peter, anything further on this one?
Nothing else to add, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything further from any member of council on this? All heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you. Next one is 2022-88, part lot control of 12 and 14 Felker Way.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2022-88, being a bylaw to lift part lot control for Lot 4, Registered Plan 74, in the former village of Morrisburg, Municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Peter?
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. This is an application to subdivide semi-detached home into 2 different lots in Morrisburg, and we're recommending council pass a bylaw as it meets all the policies and zoning of the municipality.
Okay, any comment, questions, concerns from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Next one is 2022-89, part lot control for 2 and 4 Rooney Street.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2022-89, being a bylaw to lift part lot control for Lot 1, Registered Plan 111, in the village of Iroquois, Municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Peter again?
Thank you, Mayor Byvelds. This is a similar application, but it's in Iroquois, just north of the plaza on Rooney Street.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns on this one from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you, Peter. Next one, 2022-90, appoint CBO.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-90, being a bylaw to appoint a chief building official for the Municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
I assume it's Shannon on here.
Yes, yep. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is a bylaw to appoint Andrew Turner, who's been the acting CBO since January of 2022. He's been in the acting role for the last 8 months, has completed the necessary training and requirements of his acting role, and looking tonight to appoint him as our CBO moving forward. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council this evening? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Next one, 2022-92, civic addressing.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-92, being a bylaw to provide for the placing and maintaining of a civic address system, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Sure. So council will recall on 2 different occasions you've discussed the civic addressing bylaw and potential amendments. So as a result of the discussion based on July 11th, this bylaw provides for the provision of the addition of addressing for vacant lands. So we now have 2 different schedules to this bylaw. One includes the Emily project for Farm 911 and the vacant land undeveloped lot policy.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, concerns on this from any member of council? And I'd like to thank Councillor Wells for bringing this to our attention because it made a lot of common sense in the end. All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if anything, motion carries. Twenty 92-93, the Donald Haynes Municipal Drain Branch 1 Report, third reading.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2022-93, being a bylaw to adopt, third reading, the Section 76 Engineers Report of the Donald Haynes Municipal Drain Branch 1 Number Report.
Justin?
Good evening again. So in front of you is the third reading for the bylaw to adopt the new assessment schedule. We had the quarter revision July 13th. 2 members of council was present to that, and no appeals were presented from anyone within the watershed. Therefore, a third reading may occur to fully adopt the new report. Permits have been filed and received by all required agencies, so once this meeting is concluded, I can then post the tender to hopefully get some contractors in this fall. If there's any questions, I can answer them at this time.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns on this? Councillor Mellon?
You're planning on tendering and getting it done this fall?
We're hoping so,
Hoping
yes.
to, okay.
Yes. We have everything in place to be able to, so as long as we have a willing contractor to join us on it, we will venture into the Don Haynes.
Be great.
Okay, anything further from any other members of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Twenty 92-94, the Zandbergen Drain Proposed Realignment Report, 2 readings.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that council give first and second reading of bylaw number 2022-94, being a provisional bylaw to adopt the Section 78.5 Engineers Report of the Zandbergen Drain Proposed Realignment Report.
Justin?
Thank you. Since no changes have been requested by mayor or council or any members as the prescribed people that we had to send it out to, once passed, there is a 10-day appeals period, as we previously discussed in today's meeting. No court of revision is required for this one, though I just, yeah, sorry, it says that, but it's a new part of the Drainage Act, so it's very cloudy. It's I think we are one of the first municipalities to push a 78.5 through, so bear with us on the growing pains. But all approval agencies have been notified. I have told them that there is a time window that we would like to complete it in, and their help with it would be appreciated. So we're hoping for a quick turnaround time on permits. So once this is over, we can get the tendering after the third reading.
Okay, Councilor Mellon, any questions, comments?
No, I mean, that court of revisions, I couldn't understand why it was in your report. And I was thinking, well, we gotta have the court of revision before we can do the third reading, before we can tender it, but we can eliminate that part, let's drive on.
Correct.
Okay.
Eliminate everything.
There we go.
You have to understand that it's usually a landowner requests to do the change, so he
Yeah.
or she doesn't want it after the report's through. It's kind of ironic, so. Anything further from any members of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Justin. Twenty 22-95, appoint clerk deputy CAO.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-95, being a bylaw to appoint a clerk deputy CAO for the municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Shannon?
So the next 2 bylaws are some discussion that we've had over the last few months as far as some internal movement. This will provide us with better efficiencies moving forward and allow us to continue to work collaboratively together. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, if any, motion carries. Congratulations, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Next one's 2022-96, appoint deputy clerk.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-96, being a bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the municipality of South Dundas, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Janet?
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. So this position has been vacant for the last few months. Upon a further review internally and discussion with Council, we have viewed it to be a position that is not required full-time, and therefore looking at appointing Tara as our new deputy clerk in conjunction with her current position of the executive assistant. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council? Council Wells.
Just one
Yep.
on the HR right now, the pay grade is a 4 now,
Yes, correct.
so it doesn't change?
Yes, correct.
That's all I want to know.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Twenty 22-97 chest drain.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Wells, that bylaw number 2022-97, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Chess Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This bylaw is to direct staff to assess the cost for the chest drain. There were, I believe, 5 events where either the North and South Road branches or there was beaver dam removals on the main drain. The North and South Road ditches were done in 2012. There was a dam removal in 2012 and 2 beaver dam removals in 2019. The Agricultural Drainage Infrastructure Program grant was received in the amount of $797, and the net amount to be assessed out is $6,669.90. And I have proposed a due date of October 28th so that it does not conflict with the final tax due date on September September 30th.
Okay, so just to clarify, this drain was actually maintenance on specifically in drains 2012?
Yes,
Okay, 10 years?
it's the last one.
I just thought if it's the last one, good. Hopefully it still flows through. Councilor Mellon, any comments? Like this is one of your champions. You'll be riding
12
in
years.
the sunset on this one.
No, 10 years, sorry, 10 years. I guess, Sean, like, why did we not apply for the first part, like the work done in 2012? Are we just getting that OMAFRA money now?
Through the chair to Councillor Mellon, no, we did receive grant money back when the North and South Road ditches were first dug. There's not a lot of agricultural properties there, so the grant wasn't particularly large. And the beaver dam that was removed in 2012 was under $500, so there is no grant available for that.
I'm just glad to see it off the books. I'm going to approve it. I'm going to go my arm up.
Any other questions, comments from council? Before I call the question, who moved it? Sorry, Madam Clerk, mover and seconder, I missed that.
Chess. Mellon and Wells.
Okay, if there's no further comments, you all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed, any, motion carries, thank you. See the bigger desk. Twenty 22-98, Ray Moorhead drain.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-98, being a bylaw to assess the maintenance costs of the Ray Moorhead Municipal Drain, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
John, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, similar to the previous report, this bylaw is to direct staff to assess the cost for the Ray Moorhead Municipal Drain. It was maintained, the main drain and the east branch, in 2020 at a total cost of $4,652. The Agricultural Drainage Infrastructure Program grant was received in the amount of $1,366.67, leaving an amount to be billed out to the watershed in the amount of $3285.93, And once again, I've proposed a due date of October 28th so as not to conflict with the final tax due date.
2 years, I like that. I love it. Takes that much time. Any comments, Councilor Mellon?
No, no.
Okay, I'm making sure. All heard the motion, those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. Thank you, Sean. (2022-99) Restricted Acts, quote-unquote lame duck delegation of authority.
Moved by Councillor Lewis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that bylaw number 2022-99, being a bylaw to delegate authority for restricted acts after nomination day, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Sure. So as you're all aware, council has the potential to be in a lame duck situation on 2 different occasions, and the Municipal Act outlines 4 different restrictions that council cannot take during the period of lame duck. So there was a bylaw on the books from 2018 that provided delegated authority to the CAO to undertake any of those 4 actions during a lame duck period. But typically, best practice is to only have that bylaw in place for the per term of council. So what this bylaw is doing is providing delegated authority to the CAO to undertake those 4 restricted acts during a lame duck period in consultation with the mayor, and would rescind the previous appointment that left for a long-standing delegation of authority bylaw. So I'll leave it at that, and unless there are any questions.
Well, we're pretty well guaranteed to go in the lame duck unless Councilor Mellon changes his mind.
That's right.
And he's laughing, so I don't think that's going to happen. So, are there any comments, questions, concerns from any member of council on this? Well, and I will say this, I know that if anything has to be asked by the CEO toward myself, you know that I will probably err on the side of caution, considering I do not want to make the next council have to deal with something that wasn't done correctly. So, if all heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. (2022-100) Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Transfer Payment Agreement.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that bylaw number 2022-100, being a bylaw to authorize execution of a transfer payment agreement, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
Ken?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this is the official agreement for the Kerman Road relining work that Council will recall we did get initial approval on back beginning of this year. In addition, we did bring some additional work back for Council's approval, which we had the project scope changed just due to the pricing coming in under budget. Therefore, the agreement that is in front of Council tonight includes the full scope of the project, which we anticipate probably to have all completed by the end of this month. So I guess perfect timing for the transfer payment agreement. So we can get the claims all in and get the funds submitted back to the municipality. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, and I trust every member of council read I don't know how many pages that was there. There was a lot. Let's put it this way, it's a significantly detailed contract. I know it's similar to the one that was done for the streetscape here a number of years ago, so we had to make sure we did everything correctly. So glad we have the money, there's no doubt about it. I do thank the province and the federal government for providing those funds to the municipality of South Dundas. It certainly helped the water users, specifically in the village of Iroquois, but overall the whole system will certainly benefit from what we have done. Any further comments on this? Seeing none, all heard the motion, those in favor. Opposed if any, motion carried. Consent agenda, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that all items listed under general consent section of the agenda be adopted as presented, save and except for items 11A, B, C, and D that have been moved to discussion items.
So tonight, we have within the consent agenda, the meetings from the South Branch Community Fund. We have a request from the Iroquois Matilda Lions Club. We also have some information from South Nation Conservation on some of their asks and activities. We have information from the Township of North Glengarry concerning their wish to be redistributed into the electoral district of Stormont Dundas and South Glengarry instead of the current Glengarry Prescott Russell. We have petitions from the Township of South Bruce. We have information from the Deputy Minister and Commissioner of Emergency Management, Solicitor General, request from the Ontario Sheep Farmers, and information on Rail Safety Week 2022. All heard the motion. Those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Okay, boards, committees, discussion items. County Council. So I will apologize. I'm going to go through the agenda because I forgot that I had to do this tonight. So there were some minor zoning amendments just to clean a few things up between the counties and the smaller municipalities. We also had an official plan amendment concerning cannabis cultivation and production. As council knows, it's been a significant headache in South Dundas, and the counties are trying to get ahead of the curve on some other issues within the counties, and from what I've seen of it, it certainly will help us do what we need to do there. We had some action requests concerning two bridges. One was the Inkerman Bridge rehabilitation, which sounds like a major reconstruction. The South Nation River Bridge near Chesterville. We have appointed drain engineer for County Road 22 reconstruction, which is the road going between 138 and Maxville. We had a discussion and in the end authorized staff to go ahead and purchase a street sweeper, which would be operated by the counties but would be functioning at all the lower tiers at a cost recovery basis. $500,000 for it, plus. We also approved the job description for a forest coordinator within the scope of the counties. We had a few tenders and quotations. Interesting one is supply and delivery of propane, which a fairly decent above rack price. We had an official plan amendment from Spencer and Marika Livingston, which is on County Road 1 near Mountain. That was approved. Project updates, then discussion on County Road 34, Main Street, Alexandria design. A lot of work to be done there. I was actually in Alexandria last weekend, and they need to do what we did here, and it would be a great benefit to the town of Alexandria. And that was about it. Any comments, questions, concerns? Yes, go ahead, Councilor Mellon.
The bridge on County Road 18 that the counties are doing has
On
come
Black
to,
Creek?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's come to a screeching halt for the last, and there was concern out there, and I, the one that this is going to drag into the winter.
I could find out for you.
Yeah, I know
I
you.
haven't asked, but I've heard that there's some issues with it. They did the half and they seen issues there, so maybe they haven't even found even worse on the other half. But I have not asked.
Yeah, and I realize that, Mayor Bybels, that that's something, you know.
Director of Infrastructure, which is Mike Jans, and he's fairly good at replying because he replied to me today after I had some significant concerns over the detour signing on County Road 2 construction here currently at Dorn Creek. So,
yeah. I'm not sure if the company that got that contract, if they're unionized. There was a union. Somebody I had heard through the grapevine that it might be a union shutdown I mean, they were union on strike in Ottawa. It's just that, you know, there is some concern out there that this is gonna drag into the winter. And what their contingency is if it's not, you know, I don't know what.
Is it one way yet? They still have allowed?
Oh, yeah.
There's still traffic both one way, right, on
Yeah.
one side? I should
Yeah.
say two-way traffic one side. Okay, so I can
Yeah, because,
inquire.
yeah, there sure isn't gonna be any farm traffic across there, but I mean, was to be expected, but it's gonna be interesting this.
Well, my first concern was farm fall traffic, but,
Yeah, it's,
because they said it was gonna be done by mid-October, which I thought, soybean harvest, well, wheat harvest is gone, but I mean, well, not spring wheat necessarily, but soybean and significant, corn, I should say, will be the big kicker.
and that 9 Mile Road's it's taking a lot more traffic when anybody that's, you know, coming from the west, but anyways, it'd be interesting, you know, to find out why they've seemed to come to a screeching halt on that. you know.
Okay, I will ask the question.
Thank you, that'd be great.
Go ahead.
Just one question. When County Road 18 at Nash Creek was supposed to
Hosek
be
Creek, you mean?
Eh?
Hosek Creek, you mean?
It's called Nash Creek now. isn't it?
Okay, fair enough.
I wouldn't even. Anyways, so obviously they're shut down. Is it because of nature? I
Yep.
heard.
It is. There's swallow nesting underneath there yet. Nobody checked it before they started, so
No,
away they went. They can't do anything till the nest is vacated.
Yep. Okay. No, I just heard it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
that's
that
true.
was the reason. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Cemetery Board.
No meeting, Mayor.
Airquan District Business Group, there was no meeting that I went to. Morse BIA. South Nation Conservation.
No,
Wow, there's 10 minutes. Morrisburg Waterfront.
No.
Airco Waterfront did have a meeting. Their minutes will be in the next agenda. South Branch had a meeting. Minutes were in the agenda. Carmen House, we aren't doing anything there. Dundas County Archives, no meeting. Tourism Advisory.
Nope.
Economic Development.
One coming up to, the score cards were sent out for the committee members to score the awards.
Okay.
So that'll be coming up shortly.
Okay. Doctor Advisory.
Nope.
I will say this, I'm not blaming anybody in this council or any other member of staff on what we need to do in the medical profession. But my experiences in the last month and a half have been very telling of where we need to go, and not only do we need to fix up having more doctors within the sphere of South Dundas, we need a major overhaul of the system.
Yep.
It is unbelievable.
Yep.
When you get up to a point that you need help, and some of the proposed solutions just do not make any common sense, so.
Nope.
I will just have to say that 2 cents after enduring what I've been enduring. Backyard Chicken Pilot Project. Peter, you're back. Go ahead.
So we actually did receive a site-specific amendment to do backyard chickens along County Road 18, and in discussions with the mayor, we had considered maybe bringing this back to council. The mayor requested, should we just do site-specific amendments or go back to the pilot project that was originally deferred? And I believe it was deferred due to concerns of avian flu, which doesn't seem as big as it was a few months ago, where chicken farms and poultry farms, in just to the west of us were shut down because of potential infections. So I think through the mayor, we're looking for direction if council wants us to still revisit this, rather than entertaining several site-specific exemptions from people that have been cited through bylaw, can start to look at it for the township as a whole, or just treat them individually and relook at backyard chickens maybe with the new council. There is some time still to do that. When we originally talked about it, we had about a 3-week online survey, and then after that, there's a need for a public meeting to do a temporary zoning bylaw to allow for a pilot project. So there is time within this term of council, maybe in end of September or October, if we go based on the previous consultation plan that we had brought to council in February.
Okay,
I think
so-
that's about it. So sorry, was on holidays when some of this came up, so I'm not sure exactly if that's what was being asked for, but I think that's kind of the direction that we were looking for.
So, as Peter tried to explain, somebody came to the municipality and wanted to do a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment to allow them to have backyard chickens, and they're rural
Residential zone.
So they're in
Yeah.
a strip of houses, not going to say where, within the municipality, and technically they are not allowed to do backyard chickens. So they wanted to go through the zoning bylaw amendment phase, which would mean, public meetings, comments from neighbors, the whole 9 yards. Considering we were already looking at doing something that it may or may not work for them, which is a concern after, because if it doesn't, then maybe a minor variance would work then, who knows, but the concern at first was the avian flu this spring. It seems to have passed. I will say, though, that migrating birds will start going again September, October, so hopefully there's no impact there. It did impact SCG in South Glengarry, North Lancaster. There was a significant amount of birds taken down, because all those bird barns were all together in North Lancaster, so it was not 1,000 birds, it was hundreds of thousands of birds there. So with that being passed, I think, if council wants to entertain looking at a backyard chicken pilot project, perhaps we do that sooner than later than having people come to us with zoning bylaw amendments that I would consider a little bit on the silly side. So I know where you stand, so go ahead.
As far as being progressive and welcoming to young families, yes, that's exactly where I stand. But for this, so a pilot project, how long would it allow them to do it?
We'd proposed 18 months
wow.
originally, and then
Okay.
do a reevaluation after that, and it could be made permanent or discontinued. And obviously, we'd have to work with the individual bird owners to.
Well, and that's the key, right?
To deal with that.
So I love the fact that they came forward to have the conversation before doing it, right? They could have just done it. They respect, I don't know who we're talking about, I don't know them, but just their actions of coming forward to see what the possibilities are instead of just doing it and saying, too bad I'll get caught or whatever. I'd be open to it.
They already had them.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they were just going to try to comply.
Okay. I'm okay.
Might as well just admit it.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm
kinda
just-
commenting blind,
Yeah,
right?
well, I have to. I don't want to be
Yeah.
site specific. I do know the site, but
yeah.
I'm not going to be.
But
That's
for-
not getting public.
But for me, if a pilot project can do, why wouldn't we do a pilot project?
Well, I know
Nothing
we
to
were
be
leaning
scared
that's
of,
why, so
right?
fair enough.
I agree. I'd rather go with the pilot program. And then we can, within 18 months, we know exactly where we're going. And because I guess they just did an interview in Prescott, and some of the stuff I read in the paper wasn't all that pretty.
I'll have to read that, but
Not much places in Prescott you can have enough space for backyard chickens, and that's all I'll say. Council Mellon.
Chickens. Anyways, I would go with a pilot project and see where we're going, and I don't think we should be making any type of decision 3 months away from an election and then buying somebody into, having a bunch of chickens running all over Morrisburg. Well, I guess they can't run around Morrisburg. Anyways, yeah.
You can look at it this way, Council Mellon. We can be the progressive council that allowed them to happen on a temporary basis, or we can be the nasty one that said no.
Let's do it on a temporary basis and be nice about it.
Not that it hurts us, but
yeah, let them decide.
A little feather in our caps. How's that? Seems that way anyway. Councilor Wells?
No, back when we had the discussion about the pilot backyard chicken, I was for it then, I'm for it now. Year and a half down the road, see how it goes. I know there's, you drive around and not too far from your place, Mayor, there's some free-ranging chickens.
They're not mine.
They were actually on your yard. But anyways, I didn't take a picture, but
that's possible. I tend to allow that to happen. How's that?
Anyways.
Nobody says anything in the neighborhood. We're good. How's that?
anyways, I'm for the pilot project, so.
It's like Hogan's Heroes. Me see nothing, me know nothing.
Anyways, all good.
Anything further? Okay, Peter, bring her back whenever you can, and we'll tell those applicants that put their application on hold, and we'll go ahead and start the process.
Sounds good. I'll work with Kayla and Leslie. We'll figure out some dates for the meeting and send council an update
Okay.
once we've determined some good dates to go ahead with it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Waste collection concerns, Devin Meergarden.
So the letter's in our package, but unfortunately, this is one of so many. I don't know if the rest of members of council are getting calls about the garbage. It seems to be an ongoing thing. So, if you read the letter, the inconsistency, how it's going, I've spoken with our CAO about it, and I know you've had conversations with the provider. It just does not seem to be getting any better. There seems to be these little wars going on between our contractor and residents, and there's a lot of inconsistencies in it. So I brought the letter forward. They had asked for this discussion, but they are not alone. This is an email. Normally it's a phone call about the garbage. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if there's feedback from staff, if we've gotten better, if the communication with the contractor has gotten better, but it's an ongoing issue. And we've now had that new contractor that is no longer new anymore for what, over a year?
Yes, be over a year now.
Yeah.
Yes. It was
Yeah.
May of 2021.
Yeah, so I'm still getting complaints. So I don't know. I thought I'd bring it forward, and we need to. I don't know if you want to dissect her letter or add it to the list, but something needs to be,
Go ahead, CEO. I know that you've been working with them. I fully agree that we got to bring some common sense to this whole collection of garbage in South Dundas, because it would drive.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's not.
I understand that our last contractor probably skirted the rules a bit, but where's the middle ground in this? Because this is, to leave a bag of that magnitude just because it's two, that's a challenge to the most normal people.
Well, and it seems consistent in the sense that there's this picking and choosing situation where it's like unevenly targeted. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird. There needs to be consistency.
So just to provide a little bit of context is we have been working with the contractor for some time. It seems to go in phases where it gets good for a while and then kind of you get the odd complaints here and there. Some of it has to do, I think, with them maintaining drivers. I think it seems to be a cycle where they'll have drivers for 2 months and then they'll have to bring in new drivers and all that stuff. Doesn't give an excuse for not providing the contract. One thing I am bringing back in our first meeting is in September is some clarification in regards to our bylaw, because our bylaw states right now is 2 garbage bags or 2 receptacles. So in your receptacle you could have 4 or 5 small little bags, that's deemed as one receptacle. So I want to clarify the language. I've got some other pieces from other municipalities that really clarifies that, because that's what HGC goes by as our bylaw. I don't disagree, there's got to be some common sense as part of it. But to this case, I can certainly follow up with the person and find out more information on what they're dealing with and make sure that we kind of put this one.
So my take,
Just a second here. I got to clarify a few things. So within our bylaw,
Yes.
is there a mention of garbage bag size?
Yeah, so it does state in here, I'll need to find it here. There is a size that it has to be, yeah, sorry, it's the weight. So it's got to be under 50 pounds.
Yeah.
But the receptacle, there's a size for the receptacle.
Yeah,
But
so
for a
many
garbage
liters.
bag, it needs to just be a garbage bag that is under the 50 pounds.
Okay, so
it
we need to
requires 2.
clarify that one, because
Yes.
I'm just as guilty as the rest, because I'll use 2 small bags and
Yep.
that's it.
Yep.
And if I have more, well, then the bigger one comes out and we make 1 out of it.
Yeah.
But they're nitpicking, and that's a challenge to us.
Yep.
And, I sympathize with these people. I understand where the deputy mayor is coming from a common sense point of view. They're just not using that facet of their knowledge base. I know that drivers have to be an issue this day and age, because driving a garbage truck is never good, and it's gonna get worse here when winter comes, because I can drive in a nice warm whatever, and I don't need to drive that. So, but that's not our problem, as Councillor Wells will obviously say. They have to find the drivers, and if they don't have drivers, the boss needs to get into the seat and find out what it's like, because it's not fair to us. It almost makes us regret we just didn't do it ourselves, because
Well,
then
at that
we
point.
can control what goes on. And I think, it might cost a bit more, but, even the mayor of South Stormont was bragging, I don't know, it was county council or where, he said, best thing we ever did was do it ourselves. Don't
Yeah.
have any headaches.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
and more flexibility, but
So, anyway, go ahead.
Well,
I just thought
sorry,
I had
Mayor,
to put
but-
those 2 cents on.
But
I
for
didn't-
this, the thing is too, I mean, we're all residents in South Dundas, and a lot of the complaints I've gotten has counteracted what we actually do at our curb. And we follow the thing that there's so many gallons and all that fun stuff and stuff. But I mean, in all fairness, Chuck deals with all this, but we have put in individual bags. Like if I clean out my car or whatever, it still gets picked up. So it seems like it's it's so inconsistent.
Yep.
And people just don't want to think about this. They just want to put their stuff on the curb, have it picked up, and not have somebody that's being so petty that they'd leave a small bag. Like it's just as much energy to go like this and put it back on the curb as it is to go like this and put it in the truck. So it seems so flippin' petty, it's not even funny.
And that was some of the discussions we had with HGC as far as their, when they're doing their onboarding, is they need to bring people up to speed on our bylaws and stuff. And I think that's some of the challenge right now, is that people are leaving so quickly and they're just throwing a driver in there to throw a driver, not knowing exactly what's in our bylaw, but using common sense.
But
So
I do my morning walk, Shannon,
Yeah.
and very rarely on garbage day do I see anyone abusing anything.
Yeah.
If anything, we're a one, in Morseburg
Yeah.
especially, we're a one bag town.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So the idea that you can actually pick 2 full container, like they're getting a deal. Let's just say that they're getting a deal.
Yeah.
Our residents are not abusing it.
Yeah.
So these little petty fights, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll follow up with the contractor. We'll make sure that we strengthen our bylaws so the wording is clear, and then we'll continue to monitor it. The girls downstairs do take all the complaints. We do log them all. And then we meet every quarter with HGC, so I think we're up for another quarter in September. So we'll work with them and see if we can hopefully put this stuff to bed once and for all.
We also need to be consistent because it does state in the email that the woman did call the municipality
Yeah.
and she got a mixed message. So
Okay.
we need to be consistent as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you're meeting with them, let's say even mid-September, our first meeting September 12th,
Yep.
then I think this council expects some clarification of the
Absolutely.
bylaw that we can pass on September 12th and say, this is what council expects, this
Yes.
is what we'd like to get done.
Absolutely, I
And if
agree.
you got a problem with that, then, because this is new, which is not, we're not gonna reinvent it, we can't,
Yeah.
because it's a
No.
contract, right? But two is two, and one of the challenges some people have, depending on where you are in the country, is that you may have 4 or 5 of those little bags, but you're gonna put it in a container to keep the crows and the
Right,
ravens
so our
out of it.
bylaw states that right now. If it's in a,
can do that.
if it's in a receptacle,
Yeah.
even if you have 8 small white bags in that receptacle, it's deemed as one bag.
But
'Cause
that's
what-
not the way it's being handled,
Right,
you
and
I
that's
know
where,
that.
and that's where we need to make it very clear in our bylaw, because that's what they were doing before, is they opened the receptacle, oh, 2 little white bags, that's your 2. No, it's either, if I choose to use a bag that's under 50 pounds, could have 8 small bags in it, you're allowed 2 of those, 2 bigger bags.
Yeah.
Or if I choose not to use the bag and I want to use receptacle, the only clause in there is has to be in garbage bag. It can't be loose garbage, so you can't just throw it all in there.
Exactly.
Right? So as
Yeah.
long as it's in white bags or any type of bags, whether there's 8 or 10 bags, as long as it meets their
Exactly.
criteria, it's under 50 pounds, they take 2 of them, 2 receptacles.
Okay. Anyway, I'll go around council and see what they say. Council Wells, any issues, concerns? Have you heard anything?
Minor, like there's been, I called you about some recycle
Yep.
issues and other than that. And there's been people that called me and I told them there's a process to go and file your complaint.
Yep.
Get your number so we can address it accordingly, so, like, I read the letter there and it could be as well as one driver having a bad day and maybe if
Yeah.
whoever wrote the letter came out and said something or whatever, but lodge your complaint but it's something, like, you bring it back in your bylaw and
Yep.
put the
We'll clarify.
clarification so our contractor knows exactly what they're looking at.
Yeah, it's right to go through the complaint system. I 100% agree, but, you know, this isn't the first one. And
No,
that's the
no,
challenge. The pile is getting too deep.
Yeah.
Council Mellon?
No, I mean, I think we need to clarify the container, 2 containers, 2 garbage bags, and then I think we can have a little bit of clout to go back to the contractor and say, look, either pick it up or get out.
Council Lewis?
I think since last May, I've seen 4 new drivers on Augusta Street.
Yeah. That's your challenge, that's one of their challenges, but that's
And-
not our problem, I guess, it's their problem.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get phone calls. Matter of fact, last week, they threw 2 bags in the garbage truck and left one of our bags that was paid for sit on the ground. And I said to them, contact the office, put a complaint in.
Yep, good.
They did go back and get the garbage bag.
Okay, perfect.
But,
And that could have been, said, a new driver, not,
Yeah,
but that's,
yeah. But I know a while back they were getting complete roads.
yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
New drivers.
So,
Okay. You
I was
satisfied
just-
with that response?
Yeah,
For now, I know it's not fixing it immediately,
Well,
but
no, and I
it's
mean,
progress.
that contract is a huge number. If we were
Oh.
sitting here with the massive number, so,
Well-
it's their issue. If they can't fulfill the the contract with proper drivers, it's not really our problem.
We'll follow up with the owner of the property, but we'll also make sure we follow up with HGC to make sure that this doesn't happen again,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, and as I stated before, but I'll return to you again,
Yep.
she did call the office to go
Okay.
through she did do the proper channels,
Yep,
but
okay,
it didn't work.
okay, thank you.
Okay. We have a letter in here that council received, the request to remove weeds. Jeff, do you mind coming up here and we can involve you in this discussion because it's an unmade road allowance that we're in. So I'm sure everybody's probably driven and is familiar with this old Princeton Road from Dr. Miller south. Jeff, you're familiar with what's there now?
Sorry, what?
You did not get this letter?
No.
Well, it's part of the council package.
No, I can see
Okay.
it pretty quick.
No, I'll just give you a snapshot. We have a request from a landowner there that would like that old portion of Princeton Road cleaned up. It was blocked up with rocks during the last session of council. I don't know if Jeff was here or was Mr. Bazinet that was here at the time. Hasn't been maintained since. Not that it was maintained before either,
No, it was never maintained, no.
so.
It was a garbage issue before.
It was a garbage issue before. So I'm not saying we need to do it, but it also puts on the table the thought of what we actually do with unmaintained road allowances, whether it involves this or it involves gravel for a farmer or whatever. I think this just opened the can of worms for us to at least deal with it, if council wants to deal with it, or they can just sweep it under the rug and next one can deal with it, but it's a sticky situation.
So that's at the dead end of Dr. Miller Drive. Is that where we're talking?
Yeah, going south past the graveyard.
There's a cement barrier, I believe, right?
No,
There's
just rocks,
Just
quarry
rocks. Rocks, okay.
Oh, the old blue house driveway is right there. Is that
Yeah,
where we're
yeah,
talking? That
going
intersection
south
going straight
to the
okay,
river,
I know
yeah.
where we're talking now. Yes, okay.
Yeah, used to be able to actually drive down that. And
Oh, you could?
If the
Okay.
water was low enough, you can turn around there. The old highway is basically, the intersection's still there.
We used to use it to dock our boats too there, down there.
But, yeah, it was blocked off.
Yeah.
As I said, so. I did drive by it Sunday morning, and yeah, she was correct in the statement that you can't walk down it for the weeds and everything else. Now, the question is, she's asking council to start mowing it again. Challenging situation, because you mow one, you mow them all,
That's correct.
so.
So I'll give you a little background. Since I started in 2015, nothing has ever been done down that dead end, just from previous successors. Not having done anything, Dr. Miller was our focus, and that's what we did. Dr. Miller was the road. We can, as a municipality, if you so choose, we can pass a tractor down through. Again, it would just be a twice a year activity that falls under roadside mowing. I'm open to your suggestions or however you want to do this. We have to then keep in mind that this is a non-maintained road. So I'll give you Car Road as an example. It's a non-maintained portion also that we've taken the brush cutter in there just because of the fact that there is farmers that have land at the south end of the car where it meets the Beckstead. But the middle portion going through the bush is, if you can get through her on a bicycle, you're doing good luck, because that's just how it is. It's a non-maintained roadway. I can go whatever route you want.
Okay. And I apologize for making sure you didn't have this. I thought maybe it would have hit your desk, but anyway. Council thoughts. I'm gonna go to Councilor Mellon first, just to put him on the spot, because he's been requested to do others, and
I get requests almost one or two every year. I usually confer with Jeff just to confirm. We have lots of unmaintained road allowances that farmers use, and we don't put any money into it. If you start doing one, I'm gonna have a hard time going back and telling other people that, well, yeah, we're gonna mow that so people can walk down there, but we're not gonna do anything with that road that you use to access your land, and you can smash your tractor or your disc bind or your wagon or whatever. No. I'm sorry, I would allow them if they wanna take their mower in and mow it themselves, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we should, if we get into it, we're just opening up a, you know, if you do one, you do them all. If you're gonna maintain unmaintained road allowances, okay. But if somebody wants to take their little lawnmower and go up and down it every 2 or 3 weeks or whatever to keep the weeds down for themselves to walk on, go ahead. But otherwise, we're gonna be doing a lot of extra work on some road allowances that are used, if you will, for business. So,
Council Wells?
I'm just going, I read the letter once already, but going back to it, like, if Jeff started in 2015, and the letter states from the Seaway till our ex-mayor, Von Delegard, it was always maintained, and
No, it's not true.
Well,
I
that's- I'm
disagree.
just-
I disagree with her statement,
That's,
so.
I'm just making clarification,
I know.
I'm just doing it over.
And no disrespect to Celeste, but I drive that every once in a while on occasion on a Sunday, and it's never been maintained.
No.
Mr. Garlow never maintained it either.
And I'm gonna agree with Councilor Mellon on that, like, there's so many of these headlines or roads, whatever you wanna call them, and if we start at one, it's just gonna open a can of worms, like, the road was closed prior to us and whatever, so I don't even know about allowing people to go down, it's still our road, I wouldn't even allow people to go down and put equipment on the road. Like if, myself, they just leave it closed.
Council Lewis?
I'll make it very easy on yous. I can't tell you the last time that grass was even cut out there. I know I used to go to the golf course whenever we owned it, and that grass was never cut out in that field, and then they put the stones in. So I know that it wasn't maintained when the last council was here. I know that for a fact. And I have to agree with my colleagues across the way. If we start doing one, we'll be doing 101. And God only knows what's even out there. So I would say no.
That was rather big easy. It was a little long.
Well, now you guys don't
No,
have
it
to say
wouldn't have
nothing.
been easy. Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I really wish we were in a position, financial, man hours, machine hours, whatever the case may be, to maintain all these little arteries, but we're not. It's just the reality of it. It's not something that, it's unfortunate, but it is also, it's just the reality. We just don't have the resources, right?
And I know Celeste mentioned that it's maintained, you're right, Don, it was maintained by vehicles going down there. That's how it happened, like, I've got a path into a bush property I have where an apiary is, and we never cut it, but it's literally a path, and the only thing is encroaching is the brush on the sides, but the weeds don't tend to grow when the traffic is there on a regular basis. So that's gone. It certainly has grown back up, and, you know, it just opens that big can of worms. And from what I'm hearing of council discussion and from, you know, some direction for you, Jeff, as director, if somebody asks for an unmaintained road allowance to be repaired, then I say this council says no, and I can understand why. It does two things. A, it adds to our expenses. But B, the biggest one is liability, because now all of a sudden it's not an unmaintained road allowance. We all of a sudden maintained it, and then somebody's gonna say, well, it's maintained road allowance, I can do what I wish on it, and then somebody rolls a car on it and whatever. And this seems simple. I won't disagree, but it enlarges things that we really don't need to get into. You know, there is an unmaintained road allowance south of Parlow, south of Lakeshore Parlow Road going into the water. We don't maintain it, but it's perfectly kept by the two neighbors on each side. So, you know, that just, if somebody wanted to do it, and it's no different than some farmers that have filled in holes with either field stone or actually purchased crushed rock to do with it. I know one person that has made a portion of one road just as good as what we do, just so they can drive it. So, And that I can turn a blind eye to, because they need to use the roads, either them or us fix it. I'd rather have them fix it. So the answer is no. And no to any other requests then too. Okay, you're good? Okay, because I know you get the calls. I've had calls that I've went out and said, no, we don't do it. So it's not an easy going back to a farmer, and I've had people yell at me and hang up on the phone, but it's life. Okay, can you send this Goose a reply, please? Thanks, Jeff. Harvest Fest has a financial support request in here. Deputy Mayor? Well, I don't want to put Councillor Wells on the spot. That's his local community. Like,
Well, I mean, for me, couple of things. A, we have to get better at communicating, I think, to the groups that we have just when we make decisions. B, though, this is the first time Williamsburg has asked for anything.
second, they did ask last year.
Oh, no, but I mean as far as like in the yearly thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I know just through the various, the fairs get money, the whatever get money. I would hope, I don't know, can we find $1,000? There's somewhere?
I thought we set 1,500 aside for unforeseen in the budget for something like this. I'm sure
Mr.
we did.
Mason, how much do we have in the council donation bucket list? Anything?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The budget in the council donation line was $71,250. To date, we have $58,000 expended, and the rest of it is dedicated to those who filled out their application at budget time. There was one that council approved for the 2021 Santa Claus parade, so that's likely to eat up the little bit of wiggle room you had within that budget. Anything that's approved now will be a deficit, but it would just go to the accumulated surplus or deficit for the end of the year.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
I thought at budget time we did set some aside.
No, we missed it. I was told by somebody after I was watching the budget that we missed it. We weren't asked for it, but we
No.
didn't think of it ourselves. And we did think of the Santa Claus parade, because they don't ask, but we always, it's an automatic almost.
I'm gonna say yes, but we gotta tell them when we do our budget, there has to be a letter there. It'll be the final time. I think that's fair.
Okay. Councilor Wells?
I should declare conflict of interest. But anyway, I gotta say yes. Just for the simple fact, it's, and usually I don't do this because it wasn't budgeted for, but it's something that's gonna come back and like, there's not a lot that goes on in Williamsburg, so. And they did a really, I don't know if anyone here went to it last year, but they did an amazing job on it.
You were in the parade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes, I was, okay.
You were working.
I was working, yeah.
All four
I
of us
did
were
see I was
there.
strong on the road, so. I would say yes.
We've, they're asking for startup donation. We've done it with the Iroquois, I think with the Apple Fest. We gave, when they originally started it up again, and other groups and stuff. I haven't got a problem with find $1,000 cash somewhere.
Your pocket?
I'll put it in. I'll put my share in.
We need a motion for that, Madam Clerk? We should, it's budgeted.
We can provide direction to staff to authorize the $1,000. Is that what?
Okay, just want to make sure it's above board.
And we will, when we respond, we can communicate the process for 2023 that we're also revamping.
Yes, I know. And you may have to reach out more than once.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think that's no disrespect, it's just the way it is. Okay, so we're going back into the consent agenda. Do you have the page number?
227.
Thank you. See me looking back. Okay. Mayor Gardner, you had requested this to be reviewed. I didn't disagree with 227.
227.
So go ahead, you have the floor.
Well, I had a couple of concerns. One, my concerns are not actually reflective on what was chosen to do the application in. I mean, I'm not here to argue. Just we had a process where these grants would come to council for discussion, usually with a couple of options where we would discuss it. I know that there was a tight turnaround. Having said that, we do have email and that type of thing. So my concern was how we changed the process all of a sudden, where there was no discussion at council about where we were going to do this. And, you know, we're all departments that would be eligible consulted. You know, there's so many questions around it. And again, it's not reflective of where you put the grant in, because I think that's okay. But I just was not happy with the process, just finding that it had been a done deal, because that has not been our process for every other Trillium grant. So.
Go ahead.
So yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Gardner, a lot of it just comes down to timing. Staff are trying to put in the best grant applications we can. That's why I made sure that we got a feasibility study, a cost estimate all done. All that takes time. I think this grant came out to us in early July, and we had 1 month to respond to it. With one council meeting in between, it's slowing down our slowing down our process a little bit to have to come back to council and have to make some additional decisions. I just want to make sure that we're putting the best grant application forward as we can.
Okay.
So
you go ahead.
council is elected by our residents, so we are actually part of the discussion. And I know that it's difficult to have the meeting schedule is not always, although this council has been really open to just adding extra meetings and stuff. So it is vitally important that we are part of the process and not just considered a check mark. You know, we have to get through silly council to let this happen. We are part of the process. So when I saw this, while the work was amazingly well done, David. Like, you're very thorough and everything else. The big bone of contention I have, though, is that we, as a team, are part of the process. And when it comes into the package, that it's done deal, where we didn't have the discussion, we didn't ask the questions, we didn't just highlight even the work that you're doing, and it's just a done deal, just kind of hidden in the consent agenda, that's an issue. So that's why I raised it, just to reinforce that we are an important part of the process.
I have to agree with Deputy Mayor on this. Council is a very important cog in the wheel. No disrespect to all this work, but you can go through all this work, and we could have pulled this tonight, and three of us could have said we don't support the project, and all the work would have been put in the garbage. Bring it to us first. At least we can at least pre-approve what you want to do. I know timelines are tight, but sometimes if there's something, if someone's going to give this council $150,000, there'll be a meeting of this council pretty quickly, because that doesn't cost us very much money compared to the gain that we could have. And sometimes our input can be valuable, because every once in a while we come up with an idea that you didn't think of that could help, whether it's you, and not picking on you. I think all staff
Everybody.
need to hear this,
Yeah.
that if you want to do things, and I don't know what's going on, because there's another municipality within our sphere that have complicated my life lately too, because they're just doing and not asking locals of what's the best plan, rightly or wrongly. It's just the right thing to do, especially in our world where, you know, if those who are watching, those who will report on this and they'll see it in the newspaper will say, well, staff's doing all the work, what do we need council for? I guess we don't need an election this fall, we can just let them run it. It's just not the way our world works. It takes time, it can suck from a perspective that if you were in the private world, you had the opportunity to do it, and the process went faster. But as I said, if there's an important thing that, well, first of all, the first important thing is you got to foresee what you need to do, and you've been doing that fairly well. It's when something comes along that's an opportunity, give us a call, bring us in, tell the clerk we need a meeting, tell the mayor, we'll figure it out. Even if we got to do it virtually and make sure that the press and anybody else can be looped in. Simple thing like this is better than just doing things on your own. I know that, as I said, it's a good thing to get the money, good thing to go after it. It's just that we need to be part of that whole circle.
Well, I'd to add that, municipalities across Ontario are not having people necessarily step up to the plate to be here. So it's important that anyone that's thinking of running understands that it's a privilege, number one, to sit here, but it's a privilege to be part of the conversation. And it's important that the time that people, when they step up to run, because there aren't people that are running, and it's an important part, we need that reflected in the projects and inclusion and that type of thing. So that's why I raised it there.
Okay. The member of council wanted to say anything?
I'm just going to agree with what was said here. So it would have been, I had in my notes here, would have been nice to have a discussion on it instead of just seeing it in the consent agenda, but I think enough's been said on it, and staff will get the idea to go through council first.
Councilor Mel, anything?
I agree with what you're saying. Like, it's sort of, it's retroactive where, the grant's already been, the work's been done, and it was submitted on the 2nd of August for the deadline of August 3rd, and we're sitting here on August 8th. It wouldn't have hurted us an email saying, hey, these are the couple of projects or options underneath this grant application, that we're looking at. Anyways, and other than the Class D estimate on what this is going to cost, but that's just my pet peeve on Class D estimates, Mayor Byvells.
Nothing you can do about that. I'm going to support him on that, because you got to spit at the wall the first time, no matter what. That's just life.
As soon as I see Class D,
you need to get over that.
Yeah, I know. I won't.
You need to do a major project within your sphere. Build a house. There's a good one for you. I don't know what you're going to do for a Class D estimate on a brand new house, but it would probably scare you by the time you get done how much you blow that one all to pieces.
Ain't happening. Plus minus 50%.
Yeah, there you go. Councilor Lewis, any comments?
No, I think it's all been said.
Okay. Don't take this as the wrong thing. We need to be looped in. CEO, you want to understand?
No, I think, to Dave's point, I think, we're trying to make sure we capture the checklist and the check boxes and get, a strong application in there. But we hear council loud and clear, and, we'll ensure that next time we bring in, we look at the timelines and make sure we can squeeze it into a council meeting or talk to the clerk and schedule something else. But we definitely heard you loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next one is key information report in the fleet repairs and the fire. And I see the deputy fire chief's here. Thank you, Chief Morehouse, for coming. To be honest, it's just me picking at something that I think is more a planning thing than anything else. I see you had a number of repairs in your fleet, and that's not a bad thing. I didn't see anything obtuse. The only thing I did see, and you're not over budget, so yet. The year is not done yet. Getting close. First of all, I will preface that every piece of your apparatus needs to have a battery that's going to make that thing run when you need it. So I'm not here to say you can be the farmer like Councillor Mellon and myself, and we'll just keep going till the tractor doesn't go anymore, and then we'll boost it a few times, and then we'll think about buying a new battery. But you replaced every battery in every piece of machinery all in 1 year. That's my question. Does that, I know you have to go on the mechanic, but did he give you any explanation? Were they all at a certain age, or?
So I would have to follow up with the mechanic. It was not quite aware that we had done that. I know we had replaced a lot of batteries. I think some were well old, some of them were end of life. They were not doing their jobs anymore.
Yeah, and as I said, you know, to me, I think every 5 years the battery should go, whether it starts the vehicle or not, because all it takes is one bad cell, and as I said, last thing one of your personnel want to do when they jump in one of the apparatus is go click, 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 and there's something behind it that has to come out. So I understand the process, it's just a matter of all at once kind of hurts your budget all at once.
Mr. Mayor, we've been very penny pinching even
Yeah,
on our repairs
well-
this year. We do have a couple more left that we got to get done, but, you know, it's been a trying year. Prices are up.
No, I know, I
It's,
don't have to tell
it is
those in
bad
business.
moving forward. So as you say, we want them to start, but,
Yeah, as I said, I'm not here to say those batteries don't need to be replaced. They can't be like us when the car quits, we can just go to Park Hall and buy a new battery. No, that battery's got to run, and it's just, you know, you kind of have a schedule that you doesn't crunch your budget all at once, and that's it. So any comments from any members of council on that?
Batteries or the
Or
whole thing?
anything on the fire one?
Yeah, I have a.
Okay, then there's more, so go ahead.
Okay, I just went through all of them, Cameron, and just a few questions. It doesn't mean a lot. Like, for your license sticker at a cost of $360, which I don't, like for a half ton, a commercial vehicle, because I'm just going, like, why are we spending $360? Are we licensing the truck to tow weight, or because, like, I know my truck is a commercial truck, and it's licensed for over 10,000 pounds and towing capacity of 14,000 something, and I pay like 260. So I'm curious why it costs us like 360, or maybe it's something you wouldn't even know. It's just you go in and that's what it costs for the sticker.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Wells, that was in January. We did it for 2 years. It was just the bill.
Oh, so
they
it's for
gave me.
2 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I think we got back though through the sticker program.
I don't think you would.
Yes,
No.
yeah, because
You did?
Yes, we did. We should have.
Because commercial vehicles, you don't get it back. Trust me, you don't. All our trucks and everything would be commercial vehicles, aren't they?
I may be wrong there, but it was for 2 years that we put it
No,
on.
okay, that
So
answers the 360.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. The next one I had written down was the tires purchased through Jay's Tires. This was for one truck at $4,031, I believe. And my question is, I see that they're all Michelin's, which is a good tire. But my question to you would be, like, say if you had Michelin's on for your drives, like for your front two tires, and bought like the cheaper Chinese tires for the back for like a lot less. Like, you know what I'm talking about as far as the tires goes.
I don't disagree, but you're looking at the person that buys a Michelin anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think part of your challenge will be that these things sit in one place too long, and you're going to get that hop effect, and a good tire won't give you that hop effect quite as easily. I'm thinking. I'm just speculating, but we don't buy any off-brand tires for the road truck and farm.
Well,
Andrew will not allow it.
I have them on my boom truck, which sits quite a bit too, and I've never had an issue with them, but it's just a question. And one more small little thing on your thing. I just want to know where is it here? We bought, and the price doesn't mean out, but a chrome door holder that Battle Shield install or fixed. It's only like $58, but it's just a question, like.
Can you just, Councillor Wells, can you just let me know what vehicle that was on, and I will.
It says 184, March 31st, right at the bottom of your thing. And this is like petty, but I'm just
Yeah, no,
curious
I-
what a chrome door holder is.
Yeah, that I can't answer. I can follow up with the mechanic.
You don't need to follow up, I
It's
just
just,
thought
it was one of
something.
that's one of the tankers in Williamsburg, so I'm gonna assume that it had a problem with the door itself, getting in and out, and it was replaced.
Okay, no, it's just, other than that, everything, best thing, you're under budget, so that's good.
Yeah.
So far. Year's not done. He's doing his best, how's that?
That's good.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Chief Morehouse. Next one might not be as easy. Jeff? So thanks for coming to council again with a fleet repair. That it is what it is, as most councilors have alluded to, but I still want to make sure that the public's aware that we continue to spend significant dollars on these machinery we own. Was the transmission replaced in the 2012, as it states?
Yes. So I can give you some
Auto or
background.
manual?
It's a 10-speed.
Okay, manual.
It is when it was purchased, it was what I would consider soft, underpowered for the job that it's doing. So in order to bump up the power, so it wasn't sluggish, they had to up the size of the transmission. So you're gonna now ask me, well, why did you change the transmission on a 2012 truck? So in the fleet budgets, when I presented at budget time, I identified Unit 62 as needing a transmission. It will not go from the low side to the high side. The operator had to manipulate the gear shift to keep it in gear. It was due. We had to fix the transmission on 62. So what we did was we took the transmission out of 75, which was undersized. We put it in 62, which was the proper size. Our mechanic did that job in-house. And we put the brand new transmission in 75, which came with warranty. So now we've got a truck that has increased horsepower as a plow truck. It's got a new transmission with warranty that accompanies or complements the truck. And we put the used transmission in a 2008 plow truck.
Okay, well.
And that's what we did. So when the truck was in Kempful, Unit 75, our mechanic dropped the transmission out of 62, ran it up to Kempful. They gave them the transmission out of 75. He installed it himself. So that's the cost that you see for 12,000 plus engine work on Unit 75.
Okay, that's a tandem axle truck then?
That's a tandem axle truck.
Yeah, okay, good explanation. The other one is the roadside mower, which was brand new this year and has 235666 in repairs, which you really need to explain well.
So that one, Mr. Mayor, is the knives. We've used 18 knives on that unit from doing 2 cuts of grass. A knife is $70 right now to buy a hammer knife for that mower. We needed a bearing for it because when we were mowing in the bottom of the ditch, a stone hit the outside of the bearing and broke it. So we had to replace the bearing. And then the hydraulic hose at the end, at the crimp, started to get a pinhole. So we had to get the end re-crimped on the hydraulic hose. So those are those costs that you see right there for that roadside mower.
Hey, okay. So I'm gonna ask one more question before I go to Councilor Wells. In your professional opinion, how off new is it now, considering 100% brand new and 0 is a piece of junk?
It's still at 85%, 90%. The mower's in great shape. It's worked perfect, knock on wood. We've had minimal issues with it. The operator's very conscientious. We put wider skis on it, so to aid in the flotation of it. I will say that with our old mower that we had, we were always changing the bearings in the back roller. We haven't changed a bearing yet in the back roller. It was the bearing, it was the main drum bearing that was in the bottom of the ditch side that, when it hit the stone, it broke the casing. So that was the bearing replacement. Other than that, it's worked a charm.
Okay.
And I think I just jinxed myself by saying that, but anyways.
Well, it's a concern to me that when something as new as that was and needs that much in repair, and I know it has to do a tough job, but sometimes tough jobs have to be done very smartly to make sure that they're not destroying what's going on. And, you know, it just stuck out. And go ahead, Council Wells.
That's the only, well, I was good ash about transmission, but that's very good the way that was handled. These knives, so basically they're just a throwaway, like they can't be sharpened or they're just throwaways, so.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, they're a hammer knife, so they come with a point, and you're in the worst of the worst conditions, and they just wear out. They just turn into nothing. So all you have left is a piece of steel that the bottom of the knife should be on. You end up with one piece of, like, a steel that wide.
Well, is there any, obviously the ones, like 2 times mowing with the mower, like I know it does a lot of mowing, but like you don't get one set of, like every year we can, except for the bearing, like the knives are what costs the most on this, right? So every year you're looking at probably $2,000, I would say, just for knives.
That is correct.
So have you reached out, is there different types, like ones that are more tempered and harder steel ones, or?
Oh, they're most likely, through you, Mr. Mayor, there most likely is, but you're gonna pay more than $70 a knife.
But if you replace them every other year, you're ahead. Anyways, that's the only question I had. The rest is, like I said before, it is what it is. You got it's equipment, and so next council, whoever's there, will probably be a good thing to bring this to the table when you come in your package.
My comment on knives is this, and you're right. But I will say this, if they just got grass, they'll last a long time. It's when they hit everything else they don't. And whatever you do, whoever's operating it, if a knife breaks off, and maybe I'm assuming incorrectly, but if a knife breaks off and that thing starts jiggling to beat the band, the operator needs to stop and replace the knife, right?
Yeah, we keep spare ones on the tractor.
Because
With
once it goes
wrenches.
out of balance, you're gonna take
Oh,
more
he
than the
knows it.
bearing out. You're gonna take gear cases, and
Yep.
you won't be able to sit in the seat anyway very long if he takes one knife out, because it'll go out of balance quite easily, so.
And I will
Anyway, it's a concern. We're over 200 grand, and I did get the email on the grader. The grader was actually easy on us, but sometimes I think that grader was a lemon that somebody bought, just saying, because it had to be a reason it had to be at an auction that age, so anyway. Beware of that.
We bought that from a dealer.
That doesn't matter where you buy it. You didn't buy it new. Dealers are no better than the rest of them, just
You're all
like
honest.
you know.
What do you mean?
Probably worse.
You may have been better off to go Ritchie auction and buy one. At least you can justify the gamble that you're going to have to spend money on repairs because it costs you a pile less money. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, well, I guess we're all dating ourselves if we think back to the old champions that you couldn't kill. Well, you did. 25 years later, they just kept on rolling, right? And now you get the new ones that is no different than farm equipment. New combines, all electronics and everything. It doesn't take much to stop them and cost money in one heck of a hurry. So, okay, just wanted to make sure that council and the public are aware we continue to spend money on repairs.
We're trying our best, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
217.
yeah, I know, I'm here now. So, David, the reason I pulled this, and I'm not saying the project's bad, but the one that bothers me a little bit is the Iroquois Civic Center. As you are well aware, we're going to put a cenotaph in front of that building this fall, in theory. I'm assuming that everything's still a go there. I assume that means this front sign's coming down. I don't know. We can't have a sign in front of the cenotaph. Would that be correct? I don't know.
I'm
Look,
not sure, Mayor Byvells,
yeah.
if that,
I don't know. I didn't
the
design
sign
it.
you're talking will actually be, taken out. I sort of agree with you. I don't like the idea that library sign put there just because the cenotaph is going to be, well, it's going to be right there. As far as the Iroquois Civic Building, I think that is, I don't think there's any plan on changing that or moving that sign. No, I could be wrong on that.
So the other issue is, Councilor Mellon is kind of going around, is putting that sign on the building. It's get that visual appeal, right? It's going to take away from what they're trying to accomplish in front. That's my thoughts. Your thoughts?
When you pulled this was the one I was expecting you to want to discuss. It was the one that I looked at and said, maybe we should put that one under the canopy. And I think there's still space under the canopy that we could put that one under our existing soffit and see what I can ask the library and go from there.
Well, I think, it's just that,
It's a negotiation at this point, so that's.
Well, that's good. I don't have a problem working with the library system. We can all have our debate on what, on libraries, but they're valuable. Everybody likes them. You don't give me the evil eye over there. But the signs are eye-catching, which is what you want. But if we're going to put a cenotaph and monument in front of it, it kind of, pretend that's on the National War Memorial and just think of all the debates we're already having over stuff on that. So
no,
maybe it needs to be on the east wall.
There's one. Okay.
That's right.
And that's where the sign needs to be. That way it's not it's on, Elizabeth instead of on Dundas.
Yeah.
It's not by the entrances though, I know that. But I guess in the end, see where that, we have all said that the committee can do what they wish up front within reason, but maybe what we need is put the cenotaph there first and then say, okay, where do we put the signs that work with that now? I don't, just thought, that was my concern.
So, I'll ask Councillor Mellon, are there plans for the cenotaph finish? I know there's some renderings done, but I haven't seen any plans.
Oh, yeah, there's some drawing, yeah. there has been.
Anyway, you can work, check them out. At least that's a concern that I think is valid at this time. And if in the end it's not, and the committee is not having a problem with it, that's okay. But the last thing I want is a call from Mr. Duncan saying, you can't put that sign there, it'll take away from what we want to accomplish.
No, I'll go back to the library and see if there's some other locations that they'd be interested as well, and then I can put together all the information from the cenotaph group and from the library and just mediate.
Okay. That's it. Anything else from any member of council on this? Go ahead, Councilor Wells.
Yeah, I like the looks of the new signs and that, but myself, I wouldn't actually want to put any of them on any of our buildings. Especially this building, and I'll give you the reason why. You get your sign up there and you get moisture in behind that, especially with stucco. The brick and that wouldn't be as bad, but you're in time, the stucco in behind that it's gonna deteriorate, it's gonna crumble. And the same with brick and all that. There's nothing wrong with like changing the look of the sign. Everyone knows where these libraries are. I like it when they're on our signs coming in, it's fine. But just keep like the old sign that's right beside the donation thing there. Make them a little higher instead of having like a 48 by whatever on the building. So myself, I wouldn't put any signs on any of our buildings, just on the signs coming in, and have the ones out front that say they're open. Then you take them in at night when the library closed. That's my recommendation.
Kevin Mayor, I think I got you excited. What do you thought? I
mean,
knew I would if I just said it that way.
important. Don't
Yeah,
start
I
with that.
know. Libraries
I mean,
are important, and
you know-
I've been taught very hardly that they are.
They are very important. I mean, to Councillor Wells, obviously you don't want to damage the building, but signage is important. Like, we have had a lot of new residents move to South Dundas. I think, I know what the library board's trying to achieve by this. They want to make more of a presence than just having, having it like a small little sign. So whether the sign is on the building or in front of the building or whatever, I don't know what the alternative is, but I agree with pushing the signage on there. People need to remember that they're there and they need to be used, right? So
Yeah, well, for sure.
it's a big budget line to have those libraries and not have people
Which is
know.
fine, but we're still like, you're looking at, you're putting the SD library on our entrance coming into the building, then you have the opening. Like you have the other sign right there, so like you're still getting the new signage, you're getting the new look, we're just not putting it on our building. Like,
Could you put it on the building with strapping in behind to get the air in there? And I know.
and I'm not running down libraries like.
Don't do that because you won't get elected.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's better if we have the signage on the ground in front, like put them out on the entrance and stuff like that. You got the Williamsburg one going, this one here, you're coming into Williamsburg. I just don't like stuff. Look at some of the, like you put the mural on Value Mart over there, the damage that's in behind there. They're buildings. But that's my opinion.
Okay, David.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I will note the one item is the lease does allow the exterior signs, but the one thing I had the same concern as Councillor Wells. I'm not a big fan of a piece of plywood sign being just fastened to the building. So I did include that the scheduled timing and installation will be completed, and the library team will be required to provide a little bit further details on the connection of the signage to the building. I included that line because I had basically the same concern. I'd like to at least see them on a piece of strapping, an aluminum hat track type of thing. So there is a barrier between. We're at least doing a little bit of something to help our building envelope.
Yeah, that I would agree to, but in having the sign, like a 4-foot sign, I know people want to see it, but I don't. Anyways, I'll just, if you went to the committee or whatever and asked about how the signs are gonna go on, and if we do that with not plywood signs or anything like the aluminum cord signs that we do, and then I'd be good. I just don't like putting stuff on buildings like that.
Councilor Mellon?
I agree. David, if you're going to look into trying to put something up to protect the wall, like I can see your point, Councilor Wells, but either some kind of strapping, some kind of whatever treatment that you put on the wall to protect the building, yes, but I still think the sign needs to be on the building somewhere close to the entrance where you're going to be using. But I think we need to look into trying to protect the building, preserve the building, exterior finish as much as possible.
Councilor Lewis?
I have to agree with David on this one. Put strapping on the brick or wherever. Don't fasten it solid to the brick because it will eventually rot away and deteriorate. So we'll see what he brings back to us.
Okay. Heard our concerns. You have anything further you need to bring to council? You can bring it in September.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any notices of motion tonight, Madam Clerk? Ratification bylaw, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Mellon, that bylaw number 2022-101, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read and passed in open council, signed and sealed.
All heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Well, before I read the next motion, I'd like to thank council for their work this evening. I'd like to thank all staff for supporting council and giving us your recommendations. I'd like to thank the audience for being here virtually tonight, and those who are here present. Go ahead.
Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Lewis, that council now adjourn at 9:13 p.m. to meet again at the call of the chair.
All heard the motion, those in favor, opposed if any, motion carries. Thank you very much.